Present.
Councilmember Kidd. Here. Councilmember Webb.
Here.
Manager McKean.
Here.
Attorney Gore.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're here this evening to accept public comment regarding the continuation of fluoridating the water in Port Angeles. And I appreciate you all coming this evening. For those of you in the back, there are still plenty of seats in the council chambers if you'd like to come and sit down.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces.
There are plenty of seats, so please come forward and grab a seat if you'd like. I'll turn this over now to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and members of the community. I'm just going to provide a very brief background, a little bit about tonight, and then we'll introduce our moderators. At its regular meeting on August 4th, the City Council did direct staff to schedule 2 public meetings on fluoridation. Tonight's meeting is the second of those meetings on fluoride, and the first meeting was an educational forum put on by the For and Against committees, and tonight is intended to be public comment to the council. The League of Women Voters has graciously agreed to facilitate both of the public meetings, and while it's not a league forum, the league has agreed to provide a moderator and timers to ensure that each side has equal opportunity for comment to the council. Tonight's meeting is for public comment only. It's an opportunity for the council to hear from the public on your opinions on fluoride. When it's your turn to speak, this is very important. Clearly state your name and your address into the mic. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. We have a lot of people that would like to speak tonight, and we want to provide everybody an opportunity. Please hold your applause, and the moderators will go over this too. Please hold your applause until all the speakers are done. Applause will take away from the time of this meeting, and there is a limited time for this meeting tonight. And the meeting does end at 9 o'clock. So at the end, you'll have an opportunity to applause for all of the all those individuals who provided comment. And the league will be talking about the process on tonight's meeting. We do realize that there are individuals here for both sides, for and against fluoride. We also realize that people are have very strong opinions sometimes regarding whether you're for or against fluoride. And because it is somewhat of an emotional discussion for those that have strong feelings, we really ask that you minimize or not have any disruptions, because it does take away from the time we have tonight. And we want to show respect for both sides regardless of what your opinions are. So at this point, I would like to introduce Nancy Ested with the League of Women Voters. And I can't thank both you, Nancy, and the people you have with you tonight enough so that the council, rather than moderate this event tonight, can focus on the comments. And we thank you for taking time out of your day to assist us with that. And this is a council meeting tonight. It's a special council meeting. And the event is conducted under the moderator's authority. So again, thank you, Nancy.
All right, good evening and welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Nancy Ested, and I'm a member of the Clallam County League of Women Voters. I'll be your moderator this evening. We will have 3 hours together. Tonight's session will end at 9 o'clock. We will have a 10-minute break at the halfway point at about 7:30. and each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak to the council. My goal tonight is to provide as many of you as possible a chance to address the council. Therefore, we'll be strictly enforcing our time limits. 2 league members, Helga and Tom Montgomery, sitting right over there, will serve as our timers. Their job is to ensure that each speaker stays within the 3-minute time limit. When 1 minute is remaining, the timers will hold up a 1-minute card. When 30 seconds are remaining, they will hold up a 30-second card. And when your time is exhausted, they will hold up a stop card. And if for some reason you don't stop, Debbie Martin, also a member of the league, will be removing the microphone from you. And in case any of you are wondering, none of the 4 of us live within the area served by the City of Water, so we do not have a dog in this fight. Before we begin, I want to ask for a few courtesies that the league typically asks at our own forums. First, please turn off or mute any cell phones or any devices that make noise. And we ask that you not use any recording devices during the forum other than what the city has authorized. It is being recorded, and that will appear on YouTube. Correct? Our city manager McKean has explained to you the purpose of the hearing tonight is for you, the public, to present your views on this issue to the council. Now, I have 4 sign-up sheets. I have one from within the city water area for those in favor of fluoridation, one from within the city water area for those opposed, one from those outside the city water area in favor, and one outside opposed. I will call on the listed names on the first 2 sign-up sheets, that is those living within the water area. And I will alternate between the 2 sign-up sheets so that we will have a comment from someone opposed to fluoridation, then a comment from someone in favor, then opposed, back and forth. And if after all have spoken who live within the district and we still have time remaining, then I will start calling on names from people living outside the water district. And to avoid wasted time, I will call the first 6 names now so that they can be making their way to the microphone. And that means you line up there. And we don't want anyone else there, except people who are about to speak. And when 2 remain, I'll try to remember to call the next 6 so that we will keep things rolling. All right, the first 6 will be. And I want to thank everyone for printing. I can actually read the names on the sign-up sheets. Except I'll probably screw up somebody's name. All right. Janet Kalin, Glenn Cutler, Cindy Turney, Jody Moss, Susan Moorhead, and Bree Royak. And if any of you have material to pass out to the council, as is happening now, we request that instead you give it to the city clerk, sitting up there with her hand raised, and she will make sure that all of the council members receive a copy. And before we call on the first person, I want to reinforce City Manager McKean's recommendation that you abstain from hand clapping or other noise. Just takes time away. And you may agree with the speaker and want to express that agreement, but by doing so, you are impinging on other people's time. So my suggestion is that you do what I've seen done at other meetings. If you want the council to know that you agree with a particular speaker, you do. It works. All right. Our first speaker, you may begin.
Janet Kalin, 2902. Janet Kalin. Hello, hello? No, Janet Kalin, 2902 South Regent Street. I attended the debate last week and was concerned that the pro-fluoridation group has once again misrepresented scientific studies. Regarding the SMILE survey, we know that the SMILE survey did not show a local improvement for preschool children due to fluoridation between 2005 and 2010. No preschool children from Port Angeles were even included in the 2005 study, so no comparison could possibly have been made for our city. The state's SMILE survey 2010 did not show an improvement for preschool children. You have received a copy of the 2011 email from the Washington State Oral Health Program Manager chastising the Dental Foundation for inaccurate press releases on this topic. She clearly stated, quote, "The SMILE survey 2010 shows that the amount of decay was as high in 2010 and in 2005, unquote." Regarding IQ, 45 human studies report harm to the brain from fluoride. Dr. Locke used one study that did not find harm from fluoride. However, the study by Broadbent essentially compared those with water fluoridation and those taking fluoride pills. Dr. Locke did not understand both groups had fluoride, just a different source. No surprise fluoridation showed no difference in IQ because the study compared sources of fluoride, not amounts of fluoride. In the end, the real issue goes beyond trust or distrust of this study or that, this expert or that. Experts on all kinds of issues have proved fallible in the past. The critical issue at hand today is the individual's right of informed consent. We are each responsible for our own bodies and what we choose to put in them. Doctors cannot force medication on an individual. Dentists cannot force medication on an individual. It is worse than inappropriate for a city council to force medication, not only on an individual, but on an entire population. What helps one person may harm another. Under the principle of informed consent, it is up to the individual to decide what medications to take. Please, do not medicate everyone. Safer dental health options, ones that respect individual choice, are widely available. If in doubt, leave it out.
Next speaker.
I'm Glenn Cutler, former Director of Public Works and Utilities for the City of Port Angeles. I reside at 80 North Tower Line, Port Angeles. I'm a professional engineer registered in Georgia and Washington. I'm a water customer of the PUD receiving city fluoridated water. When I was a director, I would not offer my personal opinion, but now that I am no longer in that position, I want you and others to know I am a supporter of fluoridated water and desire that the city continue to fluoridate its water supply. I want to talk about the qualified water treatment plant operators and some facts on water fluoridation additives. The city has state-of-the-art municipal water facilities. I have the highest confidence in the exceptionally trained, educated, and dedicated city staff to ensure outstanding drinking water quality. Washington State has very structured and rigorous certification standards that once achieved must be maintained by these individuals. They run a sophisticated laboratory and constantly take water samples for analysis, all under the authority of the Washington State Department of Health. I have provided the city clerk with a water fluoridation additives fact sheet obtained from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to be provided to you for reading. I want to make a few points before my time runs out. The city uses fluorosilicic acid, a water-based solution used by most water systems in the United States. Most fluoride additives used in the United States are produced from phosphoric rock. The U.S. EPA has authority over safe community drinking water as specified in the Safe Drinking Water Act. In 1979, EPA executed a memorandum of understanding with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to establish and clarify areas of authority in controlling additives in drinking water. EPA has regulatory oversight of direct additives in public drinking water supplies. All additives used by water treatment plants, including fluoride additives, must meet strict quality standards that assure the public safety. These additives are subject to a stringent system of standards, testing, and certificates by the American Water Works Association and the National Sanitation Foundation International. The U.S. FDA does not regulate additives used for community drinking water because its regulatory reach concerns the safety and efficacy of food, drugs, or cosmetic-related products. Pharmaceutical grading standards used in formulating prescription drugs are not appropriate for water fluoridation additives. If applied, those standards would actually exceed the amount of impurities allowed by the American Water Works Association and National Sanitation Foundation, ANSI, in drinking water. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this important subject concerning our community.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker.
Susan Moorhead. I live at 1725 West 13th Street. And I want to thank you for taking my statement this evening. And I do have a background in medicine, so I feel like that kind of helps me in looking at the literature and being able to decipher it. So the topic I want to cover tonight is topical versus drinking. In 2001, the CDC reported there are 3 main mechanisms for which topical fluoride can prevent decay. It can enhance remineralization of carious lesions before they become full-fledged cavities. 2, inhibit demineralization. And 3, poison the enzymes in the oral bacteria that produce the acids that cause tooth decay. Importantly, neither of these mechanisms depend on teeth having concentrations of fluoride in their internal matrix. Accordingly, each of the 3 topical mechanisms can fully occur without a person swallowing a single drop. The implications of this finding are obvious. If fluoride works topically, there is no need to swallow it. Therefore, no need to add it to the water supply. This is especially so when considering that fluoride is not a nutrient. Fluoride's risk comes from ingestion, as noted by Dr. Arvid Carlson, the 2000 recipient of the Nobel Prize in Medicine and Physiology. While poisoning enzymes in oral bacteria may lead to a desirable result in the teeth, poisoning enzymes elsewhere in the body could bring on a host of undesirable results, as some studies have indicated. This, in fact, is one of the reasons why some of the earlier opponents of fluoridation were biochemists, as they were familiar with the use of fluoride to inhibit enzymes in the laboratory. They now worry about the potential for fluoride to inhibit enzymes in the body, as noted by Dr. James Sumner, a Nobel laureate biochemist at Cornell University. Calcium fluoride is a natural mineral. Sodium fluoride is not a naturally occurring substance. It is formed by industry as a waste product, which I understand is the fluoride that's being used in water treatment. As my remarks indicate, I am against the community treatment of water with fluoride. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Jody Moss. I reside at 73 Bridge Lane, outside of Port Angeles, but we do receive Port Angeles water. And I want to tell a story that occurred right shortly after we moved here 20 years ago. It was right around the age when my children had need to have their wisdom teeth removed. And we went to the dentist and the oral surgeon, and both commented when they saw my kids' teeth, you didn't grow up in Port Angeles. This was 20 years ago. And they could tell that just by looking in their mouths at the structure of their teeth. Neither of my kids had cavities. They still don't, and we owe that to being raised in a community that did have fluoride in the water. I also want to talk a little bit about who I trust. I trust my doctors, and I trust my dentist, and I trust our public health officer. And those are the individuals that have provided a great deal of information on this topic for me to be able to interpret what's most important, what's going to do the most good in our community. And having worked in the public health sector, one of the biggest gaps that we've seen is care for dental care, oral health care. In fact, some would say it's the biggest medical gap that exists in our community. In fact, we are designated a federally designated health professional shortage area for dental care. That means that there are not enough dentists for the number of people who need that service. In 2011, adults on Medicaid lost their dental benefit because of budget cuts. This year, services has served to increase demand for treatment. I think what we really need to focus is on prevention efforts and not take a step back. Taking fluoridation away will really send us down the wrong path. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Cindy Tony, 530 West State Street. This is in regard to fluoride. Putting medication.
I'm sorry, I'm just going to interrupt you. Sorry, you're calling next to people.
Okay, but you're not the company.
No, this doesn't count on your phone.
All right, Judy Hangartner, Laura Jackson, Linda Crane, Greg Birch, Charles Crane, and Deborah Bip. I'm not sure. Thank you. Go ahead.
In regard to fluoride, putting medication in the public water system is unethical. As adults, we can choose to take the medication as needed or choose to refuse them. We are allowed by law to refuse treatment even unto death. Without fluoride in the water, each adult can choose to use fluoride products, and if they choose to, give fluoride tablets to their children. If parents can't remember to give the tablets to their children, as was brought up by the proponents of fluoridating water, that is a ridiculous reason to impose this drug on an entire city population. I know the council members and mayor have received stacks of actual valid research and studies done on the effect of fluoride on the entire body from drinking it, bathing in it, and cooking with it. The conclusions were extremely negative in regard to the organs, bones, the brain, and even the teeth. No offense intended, but I find it extremely inappropriate and curious for city council members and our mayor to make a decision as to what medication is put in our water. Forced medication in this matter is a crime against humanity. Any adult who is receiving the city water should be allowed to vote on this issue. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
My name's Greg Royak. I reside at 2007. I reside at 2007 Hamilton Way. I want to thank the council first for listening to comments from the public on this important topic. We appreciate your time. So just want to make just a few statements. Drinking fluoridated water is one of the most effective and beneficial things that we really can do for the dental health of our community. It's been something that we've used within or throughout the country for over 70 years with evidence of safety and a significant amount of benefit there as well. The small amount of money that's required in order to fluoridate the water, it far outweighs the benefit that we receive from the fluoridation. And it's something that really has been a benefit overall over time. The studies that have been conducted by the major health organizations have shown it to be a very effective way of protecting the oral health. Studies done by the American Dental Association, the CDC, and the American Academy of Pediatrics have, again, proven its safety there. One of the main things that I kind of wanted to bring up here in my time is what actually brought me here, or one of the things that brought me to Port Angeles and coming up to this area from Eastern Washington. One, the community was fluoridated. Typically, the communities that are fluoridated, tend to be the more progressive communities. And it's something that here was mentioned before. We are in significant need of health professionals, and something that having that reputation of being a progressive community is certainly going to bring more health professionals to this area. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
And here in the back.
Thank you. Next speaker? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Judy Hangartner. I live at 1815 East 4th Street in Port Angeles. I feel I'm qualified to talk. I've retired from the medical field, and I've been retired for 5-10 years, but I've worked 40 years. I'm going to talk about no fluoride. Think before you drink. Port Angeles has an abundance of chemical toxins that alters our water supply. Logically, why would the city continue to add the artificial synthetic chemical known as fluoridated acid, FSA? Over the course of your life, ask yourself, can this artificial chemical and all the other trace pollutants affect my health and that of my family? Do you consider what it means if over the course of your life you drink approximately 13 gallons of water? There could be an accumulative, undetected contaminants like lead, arsenic, and mercury, along with the synthetic additives like artificial fluoride. From your pipelines in each glass of water, you have a cumulative effect on your health for the worse. Who's benefiting more, consumer health regarding prevention of caries or industrial economy? All the studies show that our drinking water with the artificial synthetic fluoride does not reduce caries. Just brush your teeth, stay away from excessive sugar, intake all of your proper diet, and then over the time, the human body becomes a cesspool of artificial and neurotoxins if this is not done. In science, it is not a sin to change your mind when the evidence demands it. Vote no because it's our choice, not yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Laura Jackson. I'm a registered dental hygienist at 620 East 8th Street.
I'm going to ask you to speak up a little.
Okay, sorry. I'm Laura Jackson, and I'm a registered dental hygienist at 620 East 8th Street. And I'm coming to you not only as a dental professional, but as a concerned citizen and a concerned mother. I have a 13-month-old baby now at home. Sorry, it gets emotional when you're speaking. And I grew up in Port Angeles, and I grew up when it was unfluoridated. And if I could show you the x-rays of my teeth, I have a lot of decay. And as a dental hygienist, I know that brushing and flossing, they're so very important, but sometimes that's not enough. I have very weak enamel, and this could have been prevented by fluoridation. I moved away, and I went to Arizona, and where I was, it was a fluoridated population, and I saw very little children come into my laboratory with decay, and I was so proud to say that I came from a place that also had fluoridated water. And I think that it would be a huge regression if we went back to not having fluoridated water. I think that we would see a decline with our children. And with being a parent now, with being a new mom, I find it so very important to take care of our future and to take care of our children. And I do that with you today. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Linda Crane at 36 Whitby Avenue in Port Angeles.
And can you speak up a little more?
Linda Crane at 336 Whitby Avenue in Port Angeles. I'm not used to talking fast, so I'm sorry if I sound harsh, but I have things to say. I'm speaking to you public employees. Some are elected, some are not. As one of the people, I'm speaking, one of the voters, the taxpayers from whom you draw your salaries, one of the people who pay the utility rates that you said are going to be increased over the next years. I'm one of the people who pay these rates, and you say you're going to keep increasing them, and I'm one of the people whose money you take and spend to pollute our waters and to medicate my body without my permission. Our basic natural rights are being violated by you. We each have the right to choose how to take care of our health, what to put into our bodies. We did not authorize you to choose for us. Voters, it's not even our right to decide for other people. It's their right. My rights are your rights. My rights don't include infringing on yours. We are not authorized to make decisions for our neighbors or to tell someone else to make decisions for our neighbors. It's discouraging to me to see public employees sitting in a meeting called to debate the wisdom of an action that violates our individual natural rights. The decision was made years ago to go outside your job description and do something we did not authorize you to do to our bodies, using our money to do it. You were elected to serve the people, rule over them, or you were hired or you were appointed. According to law, you are to treat the water you pay for. You're not to treat our bodies. Our bodies belong to us. They don't belong to you. Public servants who cannot maintain a proper attitude or understanding about their position and the source of the authority with which they serve us, their authority comes from us. They should not be in public service. I'm sorry if that offends you, but that's the truth. You shouldn't be in public service if you can't see that. You have a wrong perspective of individual rights. Why should any of us vote for such people to be in public office? To public employees, I say this: you already took our money and you continue to take it. Stop wasting our money, polluting our water with toxic industrial waste. Stop listening to people who don't believe that we have natural rights. Stop acting as if you're authorized to medicate our bodies. You're not. Stop abusing people you were hired to serve and doing it with their money.
Hi again, Greg Birch at 1111 Columbia Street in Port Angeles. And like Dr. Wright said, thank you for providing this forum. I appreciate the time to be able to address you again. Water fluoridation provides a lifetime of protection against disease. And I want to emphasize that lifetime of protection includes when somebody gets cancer, if somebody gets heart disease, if somebody becomes diabetic. There's a small window in a person's life when that little whisper of mineral gets incorporated into the tooth and it becomes super tooth. And one of the stories from my family, as a dentist, you see, you get to recognize family teeth. Like, everybody in this family is missing this one tooth, or this whole family has a certain tooth type. In my family, my father-in-law, who worked for the county for 30 years, had these really kind of deep crevices in his teeth. And I noticed the same thing in my niece and my nephew's teeth, and in my sister-in-law's teeth. My sister-in-law, who grew up in Port Angeles without fluoride, lots of cavities. My niece and my nephew have none, and they have the same tooth type. So I know in their life, if something happens, I hope it doesn't, but if they get sick, that this fluoridation has helped them. And I know if you remove it, understand the amount of harm you will be doing over people's lifetime. So please be aware of that and remember that when you're making your decision. Thank you.
All right, before the next speaker comes up, I'm going to read 6 more names. Jim Lenzo, I'm not quite sure the last name. He lives on Bent Cedars Way. Todd Irwin, Daniel Shanbrook, something like that. Mary Irwin and Dan Bateham. You should go up and get in line behind. Thank you. Sir?
Hello, my name's Charles Crane. I live at 336 East Woodview in Port Angeles. I've lived here for about 4.5 years, and I've been glad to live here. This is one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen a few places. I want to thank the City Council for some extremely good deeds that you've done. I just, however, believe this isn't one of them. I'm very pragmatic about things. I'm more concerned with what's right than who's right, and there's a right way and a wrong way of treating people. And I think we're kind of after the fact on this fluoride. I lived in Arizona too. I lived there for almost 60 years of my life, and it's heavily fluoridated, and it's heavily polluted with a lot of other things. The desert's harsh, and we are probably more able in this small population to look out for each other and be a benefit to each other than a big city like that, because you can deal with things on a much tighter scale here. And I think more consideration to the health and welfare of people should be directed at the local professionals and physicians and doctors, and keep your water as clean as you can, because that's something that God made to sustain all of us in a very special way. You can add a lot of things to it. I have eyes that are going bad. I don't know what you could put in there to help my eyes. My back's kind of sore too. But we don't want to start putting things in there for my back or my feet, because we're getting away from the point that we have a precious commodity that we need to preserve. And I think if you just trust God with some things that you have, and trust the people in what they allow you to do, because you do exist to serve us. We don't exist to serve you. And with that, you know, it's a harsh thing to say, but I don't trust some people. I've found it hard to trust the military anymore. They've been spraying the skies just about every day that I've seen since I've come here. And I don't really agree with that. And I don't agree with some other things, but I'm not here to go on a bunch of other issues. But, you know, the smart meters and a lot of other things are important issues. And it's kind of like we get information somewhere, you know, after the fact. I consider it to your advantage to have me as your friend, but I don't all the time consider it to my advantage to have you as my friend. Please, I'm not here to judge anyone or to blast or blurt about anybody personally. I'm not judgmental. I have the opportunity to do a lot of good things because you allow it. I would just prefer the next measure that comes up, where you have an opportunity to probably significantly accept large money from somebody to do something like this, that you consider the health first and the money second. Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Deborah Bach, 2043 Monroe Road. I'm a nurse midwife who delivers babies at Olympic Medical Center, and I've been in practice for over 30 years. I support continued community water fluoridation. I recently returned from a short trip out of town and was reading my accumulated PDMs to catch up on what I had missed in the ongoing fluoride debate. I was surprised to see the newest claim that fluoride lowered children's IQs, but I felt pretty confident all that fluoride I'd given my daughter over the years hadn't done much to her IQ, since I had just returned from visiting her at Harvard, where she's now a freshman. What particularly concerned me as an obstetrical provider, however, was seeing references to such claims as the CDC recommendation that nursing mothers not drink fluoridated water. While it's accepted that powdered or concentrated infant formula shouldn't be reconstituted with fluoridated water when that is the baby's only source of nutrition, I was unaware of any CDC recommendation for nursing moms to avoid it. So I did some research, and it turns out I was unaware of it because it isn't true. All 5 of the obstetrical providers in my practice, 3 certified nurse midwives and 2 physicians, have publicly endorsed continued fluoridation of our town's community water supply. We are confident it is in the best interest of our pregnant patients and their future offspring. And on a side note, I would like to mention that we are actively recruiting for 2 new obstetrician gynecologists, and I think physicians considering a move here would be particularly unimpressed to hear that our town took a major public health step backwards by discontinuing community water fluoridation. Finally, I'd like to call your attention to the large anti-fluoridation billboard on Highway 101 just east of town. There's a lot of irony in that billboard, but what I find most ironic is the slogan, "My right to choose," under the picture of that cute little pigtailed girl. The girl does not have the right to choose parents that will keep her away from sugary snacks, teach her good oral health habits, and get her regular dental checkups. But the foundation of a civilized society where we take into consideration the well-being of the entire community as we consider public health measures does give us the obligation to choose what is best for all. And continuing safe, effective community water fluoridation is that choice. Thank you.
Next.
Todd Irwin, 5010 South Mountain Terrace Way, Port Angeles. You've heard from me several times probably on this. I'll be very brief. I wanted to just acknowledge that there are obviously a lot of emotions. And one of the emotions that I struggle with most on this is to the subject of the ethical dilemma. And there are some that would say that it's unethical for us to add fluoride to the water. And I would just like to speak to that and say that it is unethical to withhold this substance that can help.
You're supposed to have another one against it. You had one for, right? You're supposed to have another one against it.
They didn't.
If people,
Oh, okay.
I'm hoping they will line up in the correct order, but they may not.
Yeah.
They didn't come when you called them.
Okay.
They came, we checked already with each other.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. I thought it was my wife for a second. Usually if I'm speaking, she's interrupting me. No problem. To what I was saying though is that I feel for you to make this very difficult decision. I feel like we voted for you because we trust you to make the right decision. And the last thing I would ever want to do is be up here speaking to everybody that's very much out of my comfort zone. And the only reason I'm here is because I feel like this is the right thing for me to do. I'm non-confrontational, and people that know me know that. So, but I feel like I had to be proactive on this one. So thanks again for your time. Good luck.
Before you start speaking, I'm going to call the next 6. Jesse Farmer, Amy Miller, Jim Borgett, Jim Ude, U-D-E, Eliza Engel, that first name I know is wrong, but she lives on West 11th, and Todd Hayworth, and yes, that's it. Okay, Amy Miller, Jim Ude, Todd Hayworth, Jesse Farmer, Jim Borgett, and Eliza Engel. Elea, sorry. All right.
Ready?
Go ahead.
This is interesting. I just got transition lenses, and I realized that I don't have to move my head. I can actually see without, so this is pretty good. My name is Mary Irwin, and I live at 5010 South Mountain Terrace here in Port Angeles. I'm here this evening to voice my support for the continuation of community water fluoridation. 10 years ago, the council made the right decision in the best interest of our residents to supply a naturally occurring mineral in our water to protect our residents from the devastation of tooth decay and painful dental illness. Just as municipalities supply our water with the perfect amount of chlorine to protect residents from illness, fluoride will protect our teeth safely from decay. For me, this isn't a scientific debate. That's already been done, and it clearly shows that the correct amount of fluoride in our public water paired with other healthy amounts of fluoride in our diets and proper dental applications, are safe, effective, and imperative. Please, City Council, ladies and gentlemen, don't be convinced to remove this. It's so important to our community. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening to all of us. I know this will be a long night for you, and we really do appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm Dan Batum. I live at 207 Walcott Street here in Port Angeles. I'm Dan Batum. I live at 207 Walcott Street here in Port Angeles. Quick disclaimer, I'm also a candidate for City Council, but that's not why I'm here. I'm here as a private citizen concerned about this very important issue. Thank you for the opportunity. We all use toothpaste, I believe. Have you read the warning label? Fluoride toothpaste warning, do not swallow. If accidentally swallowed, get medical help or contact a poison control center right away. International law forbids dumping fluoride waste into the sea. The Food and Drug Administration classifies fluoride as a poison. If one cannot swallow this minuscule amount of fluoride without calling poison control centers, why should anyone put it in our drinking water? No one, not anyone, has a right to put anything in our water unless it ensures the water's safety and purity. That's it. Politicians should not be manipulating our water supply. Municipal water supply operators have a duty to provide drinking water that is safe for everyday use. Beyond that, there is no justification for adding chemicals to appease certain interest groups. Dental health is one of the many competing social concerns. If we accept the premise that fluoridation is appropriate, there will be no logical stopping point regarding other public health concerns. Perhaps next year, we'll be asked to accept more additives in our water to address some other alleged health concern. In each case, we'll be told that the end justifies the means. Seems to me there was a certain group in World War II that used the means or justifies the ends. However, we do not exist simply to serve the state. We are all capable of managing our own health concerns, our own dental health, and for ourselves and that of our children, without being coerced into accepting fluoridated water. Mandatory fluoridation should be reversed, and the council should have a thoughtful discussion about the proper role of government in managing municipal drinking water. This is about our rights. The science, it seems to be argued pro and con all day long until the cows come home. I'm not a scientist, it's a bit confusing there, but this is about our rights. We have a right not to be mass medicated. It's really good for us. We have a right to say no. If it's truly a poison, we certainly have a right not to have that forced upon us in our drinking water. Please listen to the voice of the people. Do not continue the practice of fluoridating our public water. Thank you.
Amy Miller, I live at 405 South Jones. Thank you for the chance to give input tonight. I'm a physician assistant at the Children's Clinic, and I thought I would start with what I talk to parents about at appointments. I talk to parents about the fact that I consider there to be 4 factors that enter into a child's dental health. One is genetics. One is the way that families care for their child's teeth. Do they go to the dentist? Do they brush? Do they floss? Those things. One is the bacteria that we know causes cavities. And the 4th factor is fluoride. I talk to families about the fact that they have no control over their genetics. They pass on to their kids what they pass on. If we lived in a world where we could have all of our children have perfect teeth and good genetics, if we fed them perfectly, which I as a mom do not do, and I admit I've skipped flossing, sorry to my dentist who was listening, and if we had control over all of 3 of those things, fluoride would not be as important. But unfortunately, as somebody who's taken care of children for a long time, that's not the case. So for our families who unfortunately have weak dental genes that have been passed on, or if those families do not prioritize dental care, or if they're not as good about the way they take care of their children's teeth, that fluoride is critical. I've been in practice for about 12 years, both in the Port Angeles and Sequim area, as well as in Colorado, where my practice was again split between a community that was fluoridated and one that was not, similar to here in Sequim. And in those 12 years, I have seen repeatedly the effects of children and their dental health who grow up in a fluoridated community in contrast to one that's not. And unfortunately, I've had to adjust the education that I give to families. One day when I'm here in Port Angeles, one day when I'm in Sequim, and how I talk to families about the way their responsibilities differ when that fluoridated water is not available to their children. I am in favor of continuing to fluoridate the water. I think we do one of our most vulnerable populations a big service by adding that measure of protection. Thank you.
My name is Jesse Farmer. I'm from Port Angeles, Washington, 4218 Mount Angeles Road. It's on the Water District. I grew up here. I'm 41 years old. I have just fine teeth. I know lots of people with fine teeth. There's a lot of colloquial stories about places in Arizona where everybody has perfect teeth. Look, 97% of Western Europe doesn't fluoridate. They have approximately the exact same rate of cavities as we do in America. Every healthcare professional speaking up here knows this for a fact and has decided not to tell you that. That's a fact. You can look that up. This is according to CDC, this sort of thing. On the other hand, what we have in America that they don't really have in Europe is massive rates of dental fluorosis. And again, any healthcare professional who comes up in here and wants to talk about cavities but not dental fluorosis, it doesn't really care about dental health. They only care about getting the fluoride in the water for whatever reason. And these people are connected, they're part of organizations, and there's very few actual just citizens here. These are people that are part of organizations that push fluoride. So the price of, as it was called, super tooth in America is that 40% of American teens have visible signs of dental fluorosis. That's the real cost. This is according to a study done by the National Center for Health Statistics called The Prevalence and Severity of Dental Fluorosis in the U.S. It says 40% of American teens have visible signs of dental fluorosis. This is a disease. This is a horrible thing that people are suffering from because of the fluoride that you are putting in the water. This is much lower among older adults who weren't exposed to as much fluoride. It's much higher among poorer teens, and certain minority groups are very high, over 50%. So those are the victims of fluoridation. This is according to the CDC's website, and I invite you to look up that study. The other thing, and this is one of the most important things to me, is where's the fluoride come from? Well, the fluoride in Port Angeles, at least according to this invoice, which was acquired through a CDC, Freedom of Information Act request, the fluoride comes from 1515 South Highway 430, Rock Springs, Wyoming. And I invite you to go ahead and Google that, see what's at that address. That's 515 South Highway 430, Rock Springs, Wyoming, and you don't need the zip. If you Google that, that's a phosphate fertilizer plant. That's not a pharmaceutical plant. It is and this is, and I'm going to give this to the city council, that's where the fluoride comes from, a phosphate fertilizer plant. And yes, there is arsenic in it, and there is lead in it. And this is according to their own analysis. So you want to debate the fluoride issue, you're still putting arsenic and lead in the water. And I promise you, any of you that vote to put this in the water, I will oppose your political candidacy actively. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. I'm Jim Moody. I live at 221 Fogarty Avenue. I'm a retired U.S. Public Health Service dentist. I have been dealing with this subject of fluoride for over 45 years. I hear the same old arguments over and over again. And just for this last little comment, 0.7 parts per million, you aren't going to get any problems with any fluorosis on the teeth, so don't worry about that. I just wanted to, oh, sorry. We know about all, we've heard about all the studies and all the scientific literature that has been done so much, and that's where healthcare professionals have reviewed that kind of thing. We have studied, so I'm not going to get into that. What I'd like to do is just give you a little clinical experience that I had right here in Port Angeles, out at the Coast Guard base. I was out there for 8 years and was a solo dentist, so I saw all the clients that were out there, the people coming in and going out, they all had to come through me. And I did my own little non-scientific study, but as the people would come through and I would see the mouths that I would do their initial exams and they would have no cavities or one maybe, and I'd say, where did you grow up? And we do this background, they had grown up in fluoridated water. I'd get other folks that come in and had a lot of work to be done. Where'd you grow up? Non-fluoridated areas. It became night and day, and it just happened again and again and again as I reviewed these cases. It was just amazing. Long before that, I was always pro-fluoride anyway, but my own children, they were growing up here in a non-fluoridated area, so my wife and I made sure that every day they got their fluoride. Probably a few days, they got one from each of us to make sure that they had it. Today, they're sporting, between the two of them, 56 perfect teeth, no cavities. They don't know what the individual is about. So, I do empathize with you in your position that you're dealing with a healthcare matter that is going to affect thousands of people and for their lifetime. It's not just that we hear a lot about the kids this, the kids that, and the kids certainly are important, but it's a lifetime gift that you're giving someone with fluoridation. You're giving them a lifetime of teeth that are protected, and it's because it's incorporated throughout the enamel. It's not the surface effect that we get when we do the surface topical things in the office. This is a lifetime effect that you're giving them. So I would listen to the healthcare people that are here. When you get a healthcare group that is almost unanimous, you really have to stop and think, whoa, I have to listen to that one. Because among healthcare people, we always are issuing what's the best and what's not the best, what's the counter effects. And with fluoride, almost all of us are on the same page. Let's get this thing fluoridated. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Jim Bourget. I like to talk loud, so hopefully all of you can hear me in the back. I live at 313 North Ridgeview Drive in Port Angeles, Washington. Thank you, council members, for spending your valuable time here to listen to all of us. I know that pretty much everybody here is going to have their own opinion. It's likely to be unchanged. I grew up in Los Angeles. I've got one hell of a lot of cavities. We were fluoridated our entire life. My grandson lives and grew up in Port Angeles. He has cavities. He's 7 years old. He has fluorosis. I want to know who's going to pay for that. Who's going to fix his teeth and who's going to deal with the emotional fallout from him having a damaged smile. But beyond that, here are the irrefutable facts. Fluoride is a toxic chemical. There is no disputing that. It is more toxic than lead. It builds up in your body. It is highly reactive. It changes your teeth chemically. The dentist mentioned that. It is completely unreasonable to think it isn't causing other changes and damage in your body. It does not and cannot just target your teeth. I don't want to drink it. This country is based on individual freedom of choice. This is being violated by forced medication of our water supply. It is proven that drinking fluoride has little or no benefit to our teeth and to preventing cavities. Water fluoridation goes against everything our country is based on. Individual freedom of choice, no forced medication, individual consent, medicating me without my consent. The previous speaker mentioned about you making a decision, a healthcare decision. I want you all to think very carefully about that. That is not your position in this city. That is the position of our physicians, our dentists, other medical practitioners, to help us as individuals make that choice. I respect everybody here and your opinions. Todd, I really respected your attitude about it. My dentist, Dr. Van Dyken, who I have a great deal of respect for. The bottom line is in this country, and this is your obligation as city council members, freedom of choice, individual choice, medication without consent. It is contrary to everything our country is based upon. The FDA says do not swallow. It's unacceptable for a handful of people to determine what the rest of us will put in our bodies. The EPA assures us our water will be pure and safe. Putting a toxic chemical in our water is not pure and safe. Please do what's right for the community as a whole, and I think you're going to, sorry, I'm finished. Thank you. Good luck with your decision. The community will show you.
All right, before you start speaking, the next speaker, I'm going to call more names. Matty Thompson, Connor Dan, Gal, whatever, Mark Fisher, Priscilla Schloss, and Scott Van Dyken. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Yulea Engel. I live at 505 West 11th Street, Port Angeles, Washington. I just want to thank everyone here today, my friends and family, the people I love so much and care about, even if, you know, on the opposing side. I think most of us are here today because of their hearts, and that's a really important thing because we need to start thinking more with what's in here than what's going on because it's getting bad. People see the world in different ways. Some of you see adding furosililic acid to the public drinking water as a great development in modern medicine that protects our teeth from rotting out because we consume entirely too much processed sugar. Better and lazier living through forced medication? Okay. Others, like myself, see this as pure and simple injustice and infringement on civil liberties, a symbol of how entrenched our daily lives are in the black hole of corporate affairs that sacrifice the many to benefit the few. Each time I'm thirsty, I am forced with the decision to ingest a poison that kills in relatively small doses, or buy another cumbersome plastic water bottle that will most likely end up in the ocean. I feel trapped. When people feel trapped, they feel hopeless, and when people feel hopeless, it affects the entire community. The estimates of what fluoride saves the community would come back overwhelmingly negative if you factored in the social equity we are losing by practicing shady practices like disposing of industrial waste in our public drinking water and passing it off as good for your teeth. An injustice to one is an injustice to all. And if fluoride causes loss of cognitive function in high doses, I should be allowed to choose whether I want to roll the dice and see if down the line it does the same in relatively small ones. This is a community that fights to free its water. We will not sit by while those that are financed by unknown puppeteers poison our bodies, minds, and ecosystems. You may have the money to pay our politicians and hire lawyers that will loophole our civil liberties, but you will only be forcing our voices to be louder. Take your industrial waste, along with your political and business agendas, out of our water. Thank you.
Let us not have clapping, please. It takes time away. Next speaker, please.
My name is Todd Hallworth. My address is 422 East Lawrence Boulevard. I'd like to thank the City Council for my 2.5 minutes of fame here tonight. I'm an ABCD program dentist that provides a dental home and dental treatment for Medicaid children ages 0 to 6 here in Port Angeles. And I would ask the City Council to continue to support water fluoridation in this great community. In the almost 10 years of Port Angeles water fluoridation, I have seen a reduction in dental caries in patients of all ages, but markedly so in children. Children who will not have access to the benefits of fluoride if it is taken from them in our community water. I understand there are other means of providing supplemental fluoride for these kids, but far too often the adults in their lives either cannot or will not provide the daily prescription fluoride that could reduce the number of cavities these kids suffer. Considering all sources of fluoride in our daily lives, community water fluoridation is the only effective means of providing the correct amount of cavity preventer for those who will benefit from it. The Port Angeles water utility is a public asset. that neither I nor any individual citizen has the right to dictate the terms of its content. You, as elected officials, have been tasked to make that decision of this public access, or asset. I would encourage you to trust that 70 years of studies prove that the source of materials for the community water fluoridation is safe. I would ask you to trust that thousands of studies prove that community water fluoridation provides a known benefit to our community. I would ask you to trust public health organizations like the American Medical Association, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, and the World Health Organization that supports community water fluoridation because it is safe for our citizens. I would ask you to trust court decisions that tell us community water fluoridation is appropriate and is ethical. I would ask you to trust the word of medical and dental professionals here in Port Angeles that daily see the progress that we have made with the beneficial results of community water fluoridation. When you act to continue community water fluoridation, rest assured you will stand in very good company. In closing, I am convinced that every single person in this chamber desires what is best for our city, and I applaud them for being here and participating in this process. Thank you.
My name is Connor Dow. I live on Kemp Street, 471. I'm here today to speak against fluoridation. I don't really have a lot of citing sources and telling people that they should go and look up stuff. You know, I'm just going to say, as one of the youth of the community, I don't believe that we should have fluoridation in our water. The water is meant to just be water. If we want to put something into our water, again, like for ourselves afterwards, after it's given to us, then we should have that own choice. But we shouldn't have to pay more to get something that we didn't. I know I didn't vote for fluoridation in my water. I wasn't even old enough to vote on it when it was put into my town's water. We shouldn't have to pay more to have something out of the water that they're putting in for us. Like chlorine, there's a reason why we're not supposed to ingest it. It's not good for us. They put it in the water for outside because it helps keep germs from accumulating inside water sources, but it's not good ingested. Neither is fluoride. And it's not even actual fluoride. Fluoride is a naturally occurring mineral in multiple places in the world. This is not fluoride. This is fluoric acid and it's chemical runoff. It's terrible for us. And anything that we are lied to about, and that it's so much disinformation about whether or not it's good or bad, it shouldn't even be that much of a discussion anyways. If there's disinformation, then there are truths that are being withheld. And if there are truths being withheld, then there's obviously for a reason, and it's not a good one usually. Because truths that are good usually are spoken out. And I guarantee that the people who profit off of the water fluoridation don't put fluoride in their water. That's all I have to say.
Hey, good evening. My name is Mark Fisher. I live at 819 Seamount Drive. I've lived in Port Angeles for 35 years. I was born and raised here. I'm an alumnus of Jefferson Grade School. I've been a physician in this community for 3 decades, practicing internal medicine, pulmonary medicine. I've worked in my office. I've worked in the intensive care unit. I've worked in the emergency room. Had the privilege of seeing a lot of patients and a lot of illness. I need your help. I need your help to do my job well, do it better. I'd like to digress a minute with a little bit of a different theme here, and that has to do with infrastructure. I'd like to thank the City of Port Angeles. I'd like to thank City Council members currently and in the past for the vision you've had with establishing infrastructure for this community, such as the waterfront project now, which is awesome and evolving, the stormwater management, not quite as flashy. Thanks a lot for a few years ago putting new 8th Street bridges in. That work takes collaboration, it takes teamwork, it takes evidence, it takes statutes, it takes guidelines for all that to be accomplished. In fact, infrastructure, guidelines, statutes, All of those are important in your professions too, aren't they? A real estate professional, urban planning professional, plumbing professional, public transit professional. You all have to have guidelines. You have to follow guidelines. You have to pay close attention to those guidelines for the success of your profession. I need your help. I need your help for me to continue to do a good job and do a better job with my community colleagues in medicine, dentistry, and in pediatrics. Thank you.
My name is Priscilla Schloss at 1225 Columbus Street in Port Angeles. I have paid my utility bill here for 60 years, yet I won't drink my water. Teaching children to brush and floss their teeth, along with good nutrition, is more effective and healthier than ingesting harmful chemicals to prevent cavities. I have 2 grandsons, ages 3 and 1. I remember seeing my daughter brushing her son's teeth before bedtime, even while he was half asleep. But that wasn't going to stop her. Her boys don't get pop or candy. Their juice is diluted with half unfluoridated water. Today, his teeth are perfect. At 3½, he now asks his mom if he can brush his teeth. This is the beginning of teaching children to be responsible in health and in life. My daughter's dentist doesn't believe in fluoridating municipal water, but says it will take a grassroots movement to stop it. It's the common people like us who need to educate others about the harmful side of fluoride. My dentist told me, only brush the ones that you want to keep. Please discontinue adding this toxic waste product to our good, clean water.
I'm going to read 6 more names before the next speaker starts. Dan Baker, Carlene Benson, Judy and Nick Dolmatoff, Steve Methner, Abby Riordan, and Mary Hugan. I apologize for mispronouncing things. Go ahead.
Scott Van Dyken, 606 East 8th Street here in Port Angeles. I'm a practicing dentist in town. And I'll look at everybody here as I address. Decay is a problem in Port Angeles. And in my opinion, the purpose of the fluoride in the water is to benefit the teeth. And that's why I'm here tonight. I've been to most of the meetings in terms of discussion. We have opposing views in terms of the benefits and the non-benefits of fluoride. I'm on the side of that fluoride benefits the teeth. Someone else spoke tonight about cavities. So decay is the issue here on the table today. That's the reason for fluoride in the water. Decay is multifaceted, multifactorial in terms of why some people get it and some people don't. Genetics, you heard that said tonight. So there's nothing any of us can do about our genetics. Our diet. Now, I'm not the smallest person in the room, so I obviously like to eat, but sometimes it depends on what we choose to eat. So think about it when you pick up that next sticky item of food that has lots of sugar in it. Think about it when you pick up the next orange that has a lot of acid in it. Those are things that demineralize the enamel of your teeth that eventually lead to decay. Decay is also caused by a bacteria, which there are over 50 different strains of that bacteria. So sometimes what matters in the number of cavities you get is who your parents were, because they introduced the bacteria to you through their saliva, through a kiss, or through sharing an eating utensil. Okay? So those things are at play too. I bring preschool kids into my office many, many times during the year, and we sit down on the ground, and I would like to ask everybody in the room to stick up their fingers like this for a minute. Everybody. I want you to wiggle the 2 over here. I would like you to brush 2 times a day. Put your hand down. Now this hand, wiggle these 2 fingers. I want you to brush for 2 minutes. And I would testify to you that most of you are not brushing 2 minutes. Go home and time yourself. And then the question is, you get that little 4-year-old at home that I have, and he's Mr. Monkey at the end of the night, and you're sitting there trying to chase him around like this. and you tell me you're brushing them for 2 minutes, okay? The other thing I would say is this, is fluoridated water, I've done some self-study, I've been up here and spoke before, it's been proven safe and effective by most organizations. And we don't need to go naming them, the council here knows all that. What else I would say is, I have some concerns. I've been looking for a fellow dentist to come and practice with me. And, you know, we start talking about the progressiveness of this town and the need for quality providers, and I'm done.
My name is Orville Campbell. I live at 820 Milwaukee Drive. Just wanted to say that 10 years ago, the Port Angeles City Council considered and acted to provide fluoridation for our citizens. And in doing so, Port Angeles joined the hundreds of cities, if not thousands of cities, across the nation in providing improved dental care for our children. A major reason the council took this action was the strong support of the local medical and dental professionals who provided convincing evidence of the critical need to improve the dental health of our young people, especially from those from low-income families. These are the same health professionals we all turn to when we need medical and dental care, and they remain strongly supportive of fluoridation today in our city. I just wanted to say, as you deliberate on this issue, I urge that you consider strongly the position of the medical and dental people that we all deal with, and that you can sustain the fluoridation of our city water. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dan Baker, and I'm a Port Angeles resident my whole life. I would just like the city council.
Your address, sir?
My address shouldn't be any bearing on this conversation. I live in Port Angeles, have my whole life, and to me, you talk about the health, and you talk about all the practitioners saying that this is a healthy choice, but really what it boils down to for me as a consumer, one who lives in the community, people should have the choice, really. And if it's something that you could buy and give your children their whole life and have the same benefit, then someone should do that. I mean, you don't put vitamins in the water. We all could use vitamins. You don't pay to put, people have an understanding that you pay for your own vitamins. And I would just urge you to consider giving the people a choice. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Carlene Benson. I live at 1830 East Woodhaven Lane in Port Angeles. I'm a urologist, so I operate on the other end of the body than the teeth. But I'm a medical doctor that specializes in diseases of the kidney, bladder, and male genitalia. I was really surprised. I came here last week to hear from the two sides, and the anti-fluoride group said that fluoridation causes kidney stones. Well, I take care of a lot of patients with kidney stones, and I've never run into this in any of my readings on kidney stones before, so I did a little research this week. And as one might expect, I found several articles to support both sides of the argument. An article published in 1985 in Urological Research actually showed that fluoridated drinking water actually decreased the risk of kidney stones in rats. The same journal, which is now called urolithiasis, or kidney stones, reported a population-based study in India in 2001, comparing an area with naturally high water fluoridation with one that had naturally low water fluoride. The article concluded that fluoride may be a mild promoter of kidney stones, although there were other differences between the two populations, such as nutrition, that could have factored into the difference. And then there was the case report on a man with fluorosis who had kidney stones, one guy. So no, I don't think there's adequate evidence to support the statement that fluoridated water causes kidney stones. There's certainly no double-blind, placebo-controlled studies as the fluoride opponents are using as a standard. The anti-fluoride dentist last week also talked about a percentage of the population that drinks 3 to 5 liters of water a day, giving them a large amount of ingested fluoride. Well, again, with my kidney stone patients, I'm begging them to drink 2 liters a day so that they don't get any more stones. And if someone's drinking 5 liters of water a day, they've got serious medical problems above and beyond ingested fluoride, like low serum sodium or diabetes insipidus. So again, that was a bit of a specious argument. And finally, I'm concerned about the negativity of the anti-fluoride group. They've certainly spent a lot of money on literature, billboards, hiring outside experts to promote their point of view. And I would like to challenge them to offer something, particularly amongst our most vulnerable, those children whose parents are incapable or unable to provide good dental care for their children. Kids who come to school with empty stomachs and dirty clothes do not have parents who are making sure they brush their teeth twice a day. The passive effects of community fluoridation has not solved all these problems, but it has helped. And thank you.
Hi, my name is Abby Reardon. I live at 1522 West 4th Street in Port Angeles. To me, this issue isn't about if you think that fluoride is a good thing or not. I think that fluoride is a very positive thing. There is no debate, it helps your teeth. I grew up in cities with fluoridated water. I have some of the worst teeth that my dentist has ever seen. I went to the dentist for the first time here in Port Angeles 5 years ago, opened my mouth, and he looks at me and goes, "Did you grow up somewhere with unfluoridated water?" No, everywhere I've lived has had fluoridated water. But I still have the teeth of somebody who grew up without fluoridated water. There's been a lot of stats thrown around here, studies that have, percentages of this and that. The fact of the matter is, you can make statistics say anything you want. My mom is a physician. One of the things she told me when I was taking a statistics class is you have to take everything you read in statistics with a grain of salt. She was doing a study when she was in medical school, and she presented all of her numbers to a statistician to help her put together her report. And the statistician, the first thing he asked her is, "Well, what do you want the outcome of your study to be? Because that affects how I analyze your results." So I just ask everyone here to think about what you're reading. Read both sides. Be very critical of what you read. I'm not anti-fluoride. I'm pro-personal choice. I pay for water from the city, and I don't want fluoride in it, and I shouldn't have to drink a medication. What's to say that the city doesn't arbitrarily decide that because we have a high rate of depression and mental illness in the city of Port Angeles, that we should start putting antidepressants in our water? Makes sense to me if you're going to use the same argument. Or what about kids who have ADHD? We have a ton of kids with ADHD in this community. Are you going to say that we should start putting Ritalin in our water? It's the same kind of argument here. What I'm saying is that you need to think very critically about what you're saying. If it's for the greater good, what about the people who don't agree with it? There are people who grew up with fluoridated water that it obviously didn't help. Why are we saying it's for the greater good? There are plenty of people who it hasn't helped. If our argument is that we're going to save children who don't have access, provide it at school, the same way that we provide free and reduced lunch. Have fluoride tablets available. I have fluoride available to me at school. Allow parents to opt out. Thank you for your time.
Okay, this is a point where I would call up 6 more people, but we're almost at 7:30. So instead, if you two will just remember your positions and be there again when we come back from our break. We will be taking a 10-minute break, and I want to thank all the members of the audience for your excellent behavior. This has really been going smoothly. We will resume.
Excuse me.
Yes.
These folks have been staying there a long time, and I watched those. It gives us about 6 or 7 minutes to 7:30. I'd like to get time to give them an opportunity to speak.
All right. Go ahead.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Steve Hefner. I have a home at 1042 Straight View Drive, and we are in the county, but we have fluoridated water, and I also have an office building, a small business on 611 East Front Street. And as a small business owner, I really struggle with speaking up about this because I do strive to avoid the controversy that can cloud my relationships with friends and neighbors. And because certain issues, particularly education, for me are so important that my personal feelings on issues can't get in the way. But when there's a solution for which the benefits are exhaustively researched and well known and the cost is ridiculously cheap, and human health is made permanently better in measurable and proven and documented ways, wherein all ages in society are helped, especially the most vulnerable, our children, I think we all do need to speak up. And you are my friends and neighbors. You support my family, and I'm grateful. And I would stand with every single one of you in the face of a real existential threat to our community, to our liberty, to our way of life. But I believe that this is a false threat that we've allowed ourselves to become obsessed with. And here are the things that swung me most convincingly toward the need to continue fluoridation. One is that halo effect. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's precisely because so many communities in the United States fluoridate that we receive fluoride in many of the products that we consume otherwise. And this has led to a dramatic decrease in tooth decay and in childhood suffering, as well as in adult suffering. And to say that we get it in other ways and don't need it in our water misses the larger point. Most communities continue to fluoridate and must continue to fluoridate for us to continue to receive the benefit that the whole herd of us reaps. And we can't simply just check out as a community. We must continue to be part of the solution, in my opinion. Decay, number 2, decay and unhealthy teeth lead to a lifetime cascade of other health and social problems, as well as the terribly expensive dental problems themselves, and we can continue to solve so much of this. Number 3, kids, especially those with difficult family lives, have more than enough suffering on their plates. Can we please agree that this issue, which is probably the cheapest, easiest, and most beneficial health care for the buck that we've ever given ourselves, isn't a casualty of our personal issues about anger or fear or government control? I ask that we do a little self-examination about why we are here arguing about this and whether it's a proxy, personally, for other frustrations. Number 4, fluoride is a pebble we can put into the shoe of the monster that is the cycle of poverty. It won't solve poverty, but it is one of the small things we can do to slow it down long enough to make a difference in a human life. And society is judged by how it treats its most vulnerable. In our case, our most vulnerable are the kids who won't get the care they need at home, and there are plenty. There are kids, education for me, there are kids at Port Angeles High School who still manage to get to class, even though they're living in their car. And I can guarantee you that their parents were not consulting the dentist about their personal responsibility. Am I done? I apologize. Thank you.
Judy Dolmatoff, 527 South Liberty Street. In my work life, I was the manager of a statistical analysis unit, and I'm well acquainted with the uses and abuses of statistics and with the concept of smoke and mirrors. I've been at both recent hearings on this topic, and I think most of us who have attended would agree that we've been presented with mounds of data. But from a statistical point of view, I feel there has been too much focus on total populations. This in turn leaves too much room for the opposing sides to argue with each other's statistic and cast aspersions like junk science. What is needed for sound decision-making is more emphasis on individual variations in reaction. Let's look at an example, one that most people are familiar with: strawberries. One person has no reaction, another breaks out in a rash. One may have no reaction early in life, but develop one over time. Fluoride reactions, like reactions to strawberries, may differ from one person to another, even within families. That is why the decision whether to ingest fluoride should be made by each individual, not by the wishes of a majority of people who don't even know each other, and not by the City Council for the entire population. Simply put, there are easy ways for people to get fluoride if they choose to do so, and their tap water is not fluoridated. The easiest is fluoridated toothpaste. There is no way for people to escape fluoride if their tap water is fluoridated. Our city council members have been elected to positions of trust. I believe that if fluoridated water will harm even one person, there is clearly only one moral and ethical decision the council can make: discontinue fluoridation of city water.
Hi, my name is Mary Hogan and I reside at 1529 West 7th Street. I'm also the Executive Director for the Volunteers in Medicine of the Olympics, free and charitable medical and dental clinic here in Port Angeles, which also resides in the city of Port Angeles. I would like to start out with thanking the City Council on behalf of our staff and our Board of Directors for your continued support of VMO over the years. Your support helps us make a big difference in the lives of our community. Our Board of Directors has asked me to convey this message to you. All members of the VMO Board support and endorse the efforts of the City of Port Angeles to continue to fluoridate the water to provide in the most efficient and cost-conscious manner the optimum healthy environment for citizens of Port Angeles. And on a more personal note, I probably had every dental procedure known to man done in my mouth over my lifetime. I've been a resident of the city of Port Angeles for 9 years, and for the first time in my life, I haven't had a cavity in 9 years. I'm 59 years old, and my teeth tend to keep getting better. Please join us at VMO, the staff, and our Board of Directors and myself, and keep fluoride in our water. Thank you.
All right, before we take our break, I'm going to read the names of the next 6 people, so when we come back from break, hopefully those 6 people can be lined up, and we won't waste any time. Joshua Warman, Susan Guile, Melvina Warman, Alan Pete, Diana Summerbilt, maybe, and Lindsay Johnson. Let us now take our break, and we will be back here in 10 minutes.
Okay, we're going to begin with the next speakers.
I'll mention that.
You ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started again.
All right, before we get started, there's just a couple of housekeeping things to mention. If any of you feel are one of the list of speakers that I call, but you feel unable to make it down to the podium, raise your hand and we will bring the microphone to you. A couple of people have already done that. Also, this is just another reminder to not applause because it takes time to go away, do the hand thing. And I've had a request by a couple people to remind you to try to limit your side conversations among each other because that inhibits your neighbors from hearing the speakers. And sometimes, because of the way people line up or because someone doesn't show up, you may have 2 pro speakers or 2 con speakers. Just bear with us and tolerate that, okay? Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my name is Melvina Warman, 224 Hawthorne Place. I am also speaking for my son Joshua Warman, so please include another 30 seconds. He had to leave. He lives also on West 4, and he was getting sick and throwing up all the time. And we never could really figure that out, but we did discover about 2 years ago it was from the PA water. Tonight, somebody said the fluoride's acid, and he really has a problem with acid. So he had to go pay $323 for a three-way purification water system. He has not been sick since then. So I just would like for you to pay attention to that thought. Anyway, my comments, which I hope will start now, 3 minutes?
Your 3 minutes started when you started talking.
Oh, I cannot help with my son a little bit. Okay. All right. So when I was growing up, yes, fluoride was in rat poison. Okay, now the EPA is lessening the effects, and there's a couple of steps where they don't want all this poison and stuff, so they use corn gluten. Just a sideline. I heard last week that those who spoke for fluoride used a lot of buzzwords like amazing results over and over again. So I am going to repeat this phrase, but I think for lack of time, I better not keep repeating it. So the word is adamantly, 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 adamantly against fluoride, okay? Because a great majority of people are against it. And 10 years ago, it was literally shoved down the citizens' throat. Like it or not, you are getting it. So, again, adamantly opposed, because people who want to can buy 3 months, and if they don't have insurance, $6.49 from Costco for the pharmaceutical grade fluoride. So, which I imagine most anybody could afford that, and most people actually do have insurance nowadays. So, besides that, it does no good for adults. It's proven it does no good for adults. And if you guys look around the population of Port Angeles, I mean, there's not too many members that are little kids. I'm adamantly opposed because the city council and others, like the Delta Dental, have no right to force it upon us. And who gets the profit? Because people shouldn't have to spend their money on bottled water for themselves and for their pets. I was paying attention outside Costco and Safeway the other day, not Costco, I'm sorry, Walmart here, and so many of the people were lugging out bottled water. My time's up. Okay, I just got one more comment. One was about the chemtrails, but thank you.
Hi, my name is Susan Guile. I reside at 32 Wynn Lane. I also work for Volunteers in Medicine in the dental clinic. As a citizen that receives my water from Port Angeles water system, I'm asking the City Council to do the best thing for our community and keep the water fluoridated. We have 99% of scientists saying that human activity is accelerating climate change and global warming. Yet we have 1% of scientists who are getting all the attention when they cite the junk science and get paid millions of dollars from the oil industry. I believe this is what's happening here. We have the 99% of the medical and dental community is with fluoridation. And we have many medical and dental scientists testifying here, which is the 99%, to educate us on the safe and effective use of fluoride. Meanwhile, we have one dentist that testified, which represents the 1%, citing the junk science to scare and intimidate the citizens of this city. I have a daughter who is now 18 years old. She grew up 8 of those years here. Prior to coming here, we were in Portland where there's no fluoridated water. My son, I do brush, my daughter's teeth. However, when she was younger, not getting any fluoride, she did have a couple of cavities. Since we've moved here, she has not had any. So I'd like to ask that you use your scientific minds and make the deduction. And please choose to protect the teeth of this community and keep in mind that dental caries is a public epidemic. I have just a couple things I will leave for you up front to read. Thank you for your time. Right.
My name is Diana Somerville, and I live in the water district outside of Port
I'm
Angeles.
sorry, your name is not called then.
You said Diana Somerville. Well, we're out of order, but we're...
Oh, yes, but you do not live in the, within...
I live within the water district.
Oh,
I get my water from Port Angeles.
Go ahead.
Yes. I hope I signed the right sheet. Anyway. Years ago, when my children were young, I did the right thing, and I gave them fluoride drops to take care of their teeth. One daughter has mottled teeth, and the other daughter doesn't. After my daughters grew older, I became a science writer, and one of the things that I learned in the process of doing this, or 2 of the things, is to question authority and to question conventional wisdom.
And I think that this is what we're facing right here, right now. The received wisdom is that this is supposed to, that fluoride is harmless, no problem, no problem. And many, many well-funded organizations support this view. And there are lots of, you've already been given tons of studies. I'm not going to give you any more studies, I promise you. I'm simply going to explain my experience and to say it makes zero sense to assume that we can ingest a chemically active substance and think it only affects one part of our body. Nowhere else does this work. I cannot take ice cream and not have it go to my hips, okay? And I cannot do anything. The fluoride is going to go where it's going to go. And in my particular case, fluoride is a halogen and it has an affinity for different parts of your hormonal system, thyroid, pituitary. And I wound up having to have parathyroid surgery from having had this fluoridated water. Statistically, who knows what difference that means, but I do know for myself that it caused me serious problems. It increased heart rate, I could go into the whole medical details, but I'm not going to. What I want you to recognize is that there are incredible individual differences between me, my daughters, and my daughters themselves, and that we individually have to make up these decisions. It's incredibly sad that there are people who don't know how to take care of their children, and they don't brush their teeth, and they're a part of the population that need our help and they need our support. But I think that this is a placebo for taking care of them. Thank you for your time, and thanks for including us. We're outside the district, but get the water.
Just a moment, sir. I'm going to read some more names before you start speaking. Peter Lewis, Callie Breitbach, Bill Kittner, Darren Netley, Kelsey Redland, and Jim Roberts.
Alan Pete, 802 8th Street, Port Angeles. There is a need. There is a benefit to prevention. You have an important decision, an important duty to the citizens of Port Angeles. A young boy came to the ER 2 days ago with a toothache and minimal swelling. He was placed on an antibiotic, and his parents were instructed to take him to a dentist. His parents did not have the money for that visit, so it did not happen. He now returns with difficulty opening his mouth, difficulty swallowing, a change in his voice, inability to handle his secretions, elevated white count, and a temperature of 102. A CT scan shows an impending Ludwig's angina, a life-threatening facial infection. He requires a level of care that is not available at our hospital. He is too sick to be transported by ground. 30 minutes later and $10,000 later, the boy passed through the emergency room on the way to the operating room. And 2 hours later, he was septic, intubated, a tube in his throat that will stay in his throat for 3 days with drains in his neck. He hung in the ICU tenuously for 10 days. 10 days later and $100,000 later, he was discharged, scared, scarred, hopeful that he could get the dental care that would prevent a recurrence of this emergency. There is an infection that is silently destroying an essential organ system. It is being left untreated in millions of American children. When the infection strikes, the only way to treat it is to cut out the infected part and restore the damage with alloplastic materials made of chemicals. By the time the child reaches adulthood, by the time all the children in Port Angeles reach adulthood, more than 50% of them have lost parts of this essential organ system due to infection. It is viewed differently than any other infection by physicians, policymakers, and insurers. For example, Medicare does not cover anything dental related. There are inadequate coverage, inadequate benefit to take care of all the needs that our children have. There are parents that neglect their children, and there are people that are fearful and avoid going to the dentist. The organ system is our masticatory apparatus, and the infection is tooth decay. Surveys of parents show that treatment of tooth decay is the #1 unmet health care need of their children. Tooth decay, I can tell you, is a burden on this community. Based on my background, training, and experience, I am an advocate of continued water fluoridation. Oral health is important. It is important to our appearance and important to our overall health. There's a tremendous need for prevention. There's a proven benefit to water fluoridation.
My name is Lindsay Johnson, 3425 Milford Court. I'm here as the mother of 2 boys, a homeowner in the city, and someone who works in the dental field to ask you, the City Council, to please not remove the fluoride from our water. In my profession, I see too often the terrible pain that children and adults suffer due to cavities, and dental pain. If we could stop even one child from having to hurt, miss school, or suffer, we should. I won't argue the science, that's been done enough. As a resident, a taxpayer, a mother, and a professional, I ask you that you make the right choice and continue our community water fluoridation. Thank you for your time.
My name is Pete Lewis. I live at 904 East Snow Line Drive. I'm here to speak in favor of keeping fluoride in the water. Thank you for the time. I'm a family physician. We practiced here for 35 years. Most recently, after I retired, I work at the BMO Clinic. I've taken care of literally thousands of young lives from birth to adolescence. And 201, I prescribed fluoride supplements to them until the fluoride became part of the water system. To show you how fervently I believe in that, I had 2 very special patients who happen to be my sons. And they received their fluoride supplements from the time they came home from the hospital. And it's kind of comical that they think that fluoride decreases IQ. Those two sons today are both doctors. So I think they did pretty well with their fluoride, and they had wonderful teeth. There's a lot of research, sometimes in quotes, have been talked about here, and junk science and good science and all that sort of stuff, but I think you have been given a tremendous amount of good scientific science, and hopefully you can look at that critically, and I think it would be a terrible mistake for us to take that fluoride out of the water. Thank you.
My name is Jerome Metley. I live in 116 North Albert Street, and I'm talking against fluoride. I've seen people here currently state the moral ground for reasons why fluoride is there, and I'm here to state about consent. Consent is knowing what you go into your body, and consent is willingly taking it. By putting something in the water that's not everyone knowing, I feel is wrong, and that's why I don't support fluoride. Thank you.
I'm Dr. Bill Kittner. I'm a family doctor in town here, and I've been in practice for a little over 30 years. I live at 317 West 13th. I strongly recommend to you that you continue the adjustment of fluoride upward in our water. And I say that based on lots of medical experience here in town. I delivered about 1,200 babies and took care of most of those kids in their early years. And I have to tell you, really nothing almost in care of kids is as hard as seeing, unfortunately, ones that have mouths that are in terrible shape. Due to the lack of resources, dental resources for many of these kids, they often are on long waiting lists to get dental care, sometimes as far away, their insurance takes them as far away as Bremerton, often with waits of 6 to 12 months to get their teeth taken care of. I think there's really little doubt that I've seen an improvement in the last 10 years as compared to the first 20 years of my practice, and I think that probably is directly the result of fluoride. By contrast, I really, although I've seen certainly some people that have some fluorosis, I've never had a patient that's had significant difficulty with it, as compared to, I would say, probably hundreds of patients that have had great difficulty with their dental health. And so it just makes no sense to me when, as as one of the former speakers said, about 99% of the studies show that this is a cheap, effective way of improving the community's health. I think there's little reason to abandon it now. You know, I am sympathetic with the anti-fluoride folks' thoughts about individual liberties. I like my individual liberties too. But I'd like to point out, you're going to have to make a medical decision one way or the other here. If you decide to stop the fluoridation of the water, that's going to have, in my opinion, a huge negative impact on the health of the community. Not only the teeth, but resulting infections can spread throughout the body, affect the heart, and other significant parts of the body. So you're kind of stuck with making a decision one way or the other that's going to affect our public health. I guess I also think you're probably stuck with making lots of decisions some people don't like. I sometimes would like to drive a little faster than the speed limit says. But I imagine partly through your responsibility, speed limits get set in a way that's for the public good. Finally, I just want to mention I've been a little disappointed, not tonight, but in other public forums of personal attacks on people like Dr. Clallam and Dr. Scott Kennedy. I've known Dr. Kennedy his entire life and Dr. Locke for probably 30 years. They are beyond reproach, and their only aim in their comments about this issue is for the public good. Thank you very much.
I'm just going to ask you to wait a moment. Our next 6 speakers will be Michael Maxwell, Jess Gravel, Elizabeth Christian, Laura Osad, Michelle Turner, and Tom Herbert.
Hello, I'm Jim Roberts, reside at 623 West 14th Street. There's been obviously a lot of evidence presented in one direction or another. And I'd just like to simply say that I remember quite clearly when this was implemented 10 years ago. And I thought at that point in time, when we were informed that we did not have the right to have a say on this, that it was left up to the city council. I find that to be a deep-seated flaw in the political process here in this community. The fact that it's not up for a vote, that's something that affects over 20,000 people, and is 7 of you have a say in it. Elected officials, so be it. But why? Why do we not have a proper initiative and referendum to have a vote on this? I find that highly inappropriate. And since it is left up to you, I do urge you to please remove it. Let us take care of our own teeth. We're quite capable. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kelsey Redland. I reside at 317 West 13th Street. I wish that I could harness all the energy and passion here from both sides, because there's so many wonderful things we could do with all of it. And I'm sorry that we're coming at loggerheads with each other, because this passion and energy and care for the people, the kids, everyone in this community is so powerful. And it could do so much if directed in a really positive way. I also happen to support continuing fluoride in the water system. It seems to me that there are very few things that are so cost-effective, so effective, and so compelling in terms of the positive things that they're bringing to this community. I look around and I know a lot of the people here, a lot of the physicians, the healthcare workers, and I know them to be people who care deeply about their patients, who go way out of their way to try to think of the best ways to care for them, who are brokenhearted when they see some of the things that kids are subjected to because they're not getting the kind of care that they need. And it breaks their hearts. So they're not coming here with some conspiracy. They're coming here out of caring, out of compelling science, and out of a sincere desire to do good things for this community. And I think all of you are on the city council to do the same thing. And I would really urge you to consider how compelling the evidence is and how strongly the people who know what's happening to the patients, to the people in this community, and how strongly they feel about it too. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mike Maxwell. I live at 3215 South Laurel. I'm a trustee of Municipal College. I was a partner at Family Medicine Los Angeles and currently the CEO of North Olympic Healthcare Network. More importantly, I'm a practicing physician. I've been providing primary medical, pediatric, and central care to this community for 24 years. I wish to apologize for myself and probably today my dental and medical colleagues in that our relative absence from the council meetings this past year relative to the opponents. And it may have left the council with a false impression that we lack enthusiasm or support for continued fluoridation. And that would be wrong. The simple fact is that we've been spending our time caring for the members of the community and taking care of the consequences of, in many cases, the direct results of oral health. Every day I treat people who suffer the consequences of dental decay. There's abscesses, pain, malnutrition, gum disease, which essentially is a rampant infection of the mouth. And there's strong studies that link that inflammation to heart disease, diabetes, strokes, preterm birth. It's not just good teeth and a nice smile. It's cool as well. Community water fluoridation has conclusively been shown to reduce dental decay and gum disease. This is not a debate within the scientific medical community. It's not a debate. This is established, verifiable, and observable. It saves suffering, it saves lives, and ultimately it saves the public the financial and social costs of that disease burden. This underscores why this issue is before the council, because it's a public health issue, much like seatbelts, speed limits, as was pointed out. Opponents try and characterize this issue as forced medication, and it's a misstatement, it's a misdirection. It is not medication. It's an ion that exists in nature, that is adjusted to optimal levels to bring health benefits to the community, just like chlorine is to provide safe public health, the water supply. It's a difficult task the leaders are called upon, and I don't envy your position. I would encourage you be cautious about taking to the voters simply because the opponents relish the idea, because they have learned that fear is easier to instill fear in the voters than knowledge. And an important part to remember is that there's important stakeholders who do not have a vote, and that's the children. And the vote that you will make will affect their health forever. In my profession, I'm asked to make the right decision, not always a popular one. I ask as you deliberate that you do the same. Thank you.
My name is Elizabeth Christian, and I live at 549 East Park. And I'm a family physician too. I've been here for 24 years, happily in practice. And I don't have a whole lot to add, but just to sort of iterate again, it's all about the dose, folks. When I was in medical school 30 years ago, one of my memorable rotations was at the VA in Minneapolis with a physician who was an endocrinologist who just put a whole lot of his time and career into studying osteoporosis prevention. And his theory was that high doses of fluoride would prevent osteoporosis. And one day, after his data were in, he flipped up a X-ray of a woman's thigh bone before her treatment and after. And oh my gosh, she went from this sort of ratty little bone to this big, white, strong-looking bone. And we went, oh, this is so wonderful. And he said, trouble is, at this dose of fluoride, she's having more fractures. So the dangers of high-dose medications, this is not new. 0.7 parts per million is an itty-bitty dose, and there's no water on the face of the earth that exists naturally that doesn't have some fluoride in it. So we're just asking to put it up to where it helps the teeth and doesn't harm anything else. I think the other thing I've heard tonight is an awful lot about, it's all about me and it's all about my rights.
And that is a truly important part of living in America. But if it truly were only about me, I'd be at home having a nice dinner with my husband. I have never had a cavity. My children have never had a cavity. So I guess I can leave. But it's not just about me. I want to live in a community where we maybe put down some of our personal needs and think about the needs of others. And there are an awful lot of folks here who, for various reasons, can't and don't take as good care of their teeth as we'd like. Does fluoride cure it all? No, and no one has said that. It's foundational, and then we build on improving dental access, and we improve on better food. We support our local farmers, for heaven's sakes. Thank you for that great facility for the farmers market. We help people learn how to eat a healthful diet. Swimming in sugar in America, everyone in this room agrees with me, is a bad idea. Let's put our creativity, as Kelsey just said, the power of our creativity under these hard things that are much harder to solve. But the foundation is laid. Let's stick with it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Turner. My address is 11511 Vermona Road. I had a written speech, but I ditched it once I got here because I didn't want to repeat what everyone has said. So I'm here tonight representing the children of Port Angeles. Despite one woman's comment about that there's not a lot of little children running around, I invite her to come down to the children's clinic on any business day of the week, and she will see quite the contrary. We have a thriving business there. So I'm here to represent the children who you will not see in this audience. When you look out, it is all adults. It's people that can vote. So I'm here to be the child of the voice of the child that you will not hear, and that's really who this benefits. The dose, like Elizabeth said, is just enough to make dental health good. It's not enough to cause all these diseases that anecdotally people will come up here and talk about could happen. What I'm impressed tonight by is the overuse of the word right, choice, consent, slamming down our throat. No one is forcing you to drink fluoridated water. You can choose to obtain water that's not fluoridated. Who does not have a choice? No, you can't yell out at me. No, I've yelled out at anyone else. You lie. I don't lie, actually. I don't lie.
Please allow restaurant in this town. Please allow the speaker to speak.
I'm sorry. No one is forcing you to drink that water, ma'am. No one is forcing you to drink that water. Yeah, but it's hard when people are giving me comments. Okay. Anyway, so I wanted to tell you that who doesn't have the choice and who doesn't have the right. And yes, in a perfect world, parents would take care of their children's health, including their dental health. And you would be saddened to see the kids that we see day to day that don't even have a parent. Like Steve talked about kids that are going to high school, living in their cars. We have families that live in their cars, live in hotels, they couch surf. I mean, that's the last thing on their mind, is to take care of their children's dental health. So please give our children a chance to develop healthy teeth so that later in life they don't get the disease burden of cardiac health, systemic infection, like Dr. Maxwell talked about. So even though, yeah, the adults maybe don't need the fluoride, it's not harming them, but the children that do need it, it is hugely beneficial. So I urge you to vote for the children who you will not hear from. Thank you.
Before the next speaker, I need to call more names. Emma Fletcher, Stephanie Noblin, Lauren Briggs, Pam Brooch. This person didn't print, so I'm not sure the name. Scott Kennedy and Mike Breen. Go ahead, sir.
I'm Tom Herber, and I live at 3515 Galaxy Place in Port Angeles, and we receive fluoridated water. And these are concerns that I have, and I've scratched out a lot of notes here because I don't want to repeat. One thing is the cumulative effect. Nobody really knows. You know, all water supplies have some natural type of fluoride, and you're adding to that. So cumulative effects are a concern, I think, and should be. And also the sensitivity that animals have. You know, those who have pets, we have a couple tropical birds, and they're also sensitive, you know, to fluoride, and it's not known how harmful that is, you know, to those little critters. So there's a lot of unknowns, and so why does Squim not have fluoridated water? Yeah, that's another question too. I think their water is primarily gotten from wells, from the aquifers, and so different water supplies have different amounts of natural fluoride and the calcium fluoride, which binds to the teeth. Texas, when I was a kid in Pennsylvania, people from Texas, oh, they had great teeth because the calcium fluoride in the water naturally occurring, not added. So those are concerns, those are questions, and I thought fluoride was only effective if it's topically applied, not ingested. If it's ingested or obtained through showering, you know, through transcutaneously, it accumulates, but it's not effective for dental caries. Maybe I'm mishearing, I don't know. For example, Portland, Oregon has voted it down. The public has voted it down 4 times. So I just urge you to do more research. There's just a lot of it out there. And the dosages have come down in amounts through the years. And look at other parts of the world. It was mentioned about Europe. 97% of Europe does not fluoridate water. And they have repealed or have taken it out of the water as years have progressed. So, okay, thank you very much.
I'm Jess Grable, 1117 South Divide. I heard a lot of comments tonight from our health care folks about how many cavities there are in Los Angeles. And that doesn't speak very well for fluoridation, does it? All the attention to studies, reviews, statistics, guest opinions, and endorsements to the fluoride debate itself and its expense to the taxpayers, 10,000 and counting, was not necessary because you, as a council, notified the public that your decision would be based on the results of the survey mailed one to each household on a water meter. Those residents who rent or otherwise are not on water meter do not have a say on fluoridation. You set the stage for state representatives who do not live in Port Angeles and white-coated professionals to showcase their opinions on fluoride, thus providing a bias against those who opposed it. Such actions are not befitting a city council elected to represent all voters. Fluoridation is systemic because it swishes over the teeth, a moment on our lips, forever on our hips. Our systems do not absorb all that we consume. Some is excreted, some remains and accumulates. That is how fluoride works. It accumulates on our teeth to form the hard shell our doctors extol as beneficial. But it also accumulates in the rest of our body, especially our bones, where it forms a hard shell there and can cause osteoporosis and thyroid dysfunction, among other maladies. We heard from more than one doctor on the fluoride panel that fluoride occurs naturally in the soil and that it is safe in our water. Yes, fluoride does occur naturally in the soil, but the fluoride used by the city is artificial and not safe because it is a toxic chemical. Sherry Kidd is the lone holdover from the council and was instrumental in the decision to infect us with fluoriditis in 2006. Now she is up for re-election for a 3rd term, which may put her in office for 12 years. Isn't it coincidental that she was also instrumental in delaying the decision on fluoridation until after the general election on November 3rd? The local voter guide asks current candidates for city council if they support or oppose fluoridation. Ms. Kidd did not have to respond because she was running unopposed at the time the guide was printed. No longer true. Sorry, folks. That was more to come.
Hi, my name's Emma Fletcher, 120 Barthel Drive. I also wanted to speak for the kids, obviously. I see a lot of them, and it's one of the most heartbreaking things to see a kid whose parents don't take care of them as well as they should. Hey, you guys, quit looking at me. We are all talking about our bodies and how we want to be healthy, and there's definitely a balance here, because the reason that there's the pro-fluoride people is because they want healthy body or healthy teeth, which is the entrance to the mouth, or entrance to the body. And you guys that are against fluoride are also thinking about your body. So in moderation, we should be able to find a balance here. We should be able to find something that we can do here, especially for these kids that you see having infections and pain, because dental pain doesn't go away. It hurts so bad, and it can stop you anywhere. Like, it just affects your whole body. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lon Riggs, and there's another health professional promoting the continued use of fluoride. I moved to this town, and I've been practicing here for 43 years. I thought when I moved here, maybe this would be a good town because we had 3 mills going here and there'd be lots of business. After practicing for a while, I realized what a great choice I'd made, because here we have community, no fluoride in the water, kids all got cavities, and we are busy. We couldn't keep up. And frankly, we still can't keep up. Although it's a little easier now because the use or the availability of dental insurance has not gone up like it did back in the 60s when all 3 mills were going. It has gone down and been taken away so much. Many of our youngsters and young adults do not get their teeth taken care of like they should. Give them the pills. The dentist's responsibility is put the fluoride on them, teach them how to take care of them. Well, we don't get to see those kids until they've already got cavities and it's happened. And the truth of it is, this fluoride in the water works from the time you're born and throughout life. To a degree, it doesn't help adults as much actively as it did if they had it earlier on in life. Now, early on in life, if you have fluoride, you're going to have less cavities, but this also is incorporated into the permanent teeth. So like has been referred to before, it's a lifetime benefit. Anyway, I think at this point in the evening, everyone has made up their mind. I'm sure the city council has, and I appreciate you sitting here listening to all of this, all the studies and all that one way or another. There's nobody that's going to make a decision that everybody's going to be happy with. So in conclusion, I'll say I would hope that you would continue this. The amount of fluoride in Forks' water made a dramatic difference. I could see right away when I came to practice in the health of the kids. And so if you can continue this, I think you will make all of us health professionals a lot happier, because we have to deal with the aftermath of all this. So please continue with the fluoride in the water.
I'm the name you couldn't read. Vanessa Prince. I live on the west end of Port Angeles. If you guys want my address to come over for coffee, you can ask me for it. I didn't specifically come here to speak today. I actually just signed in a piece of paper. You guys call my name, so here I am. I am not necessarily for or against fluoride. I use it in my toothpaste. I don't want to bathe in it. There are so many pharmaceutical companies out there with so many different warnings on drug interactions, and what are we going to be looking at 100 years from now when fluoride interacts with something that we're commonly giving people in the future? It's an item that does not necessarily need to be there. It does not necessarily occur this way in its chemical composition naturally. It is man-made. And some argue on the source of where it comes from, and I do tend to agree that it is a toxic waste chemical that people just don't know where to dump. We're better than a human body. I don't personally like bathing in that kind of stuff. We take a lot of care for our skincare, our makeup, our organic fruits and vegetables. Most of us are very, very conscientious, but I find it very unusual that we're under the illusion that we're going to be voting on whether it's going to even be in our water. It's a survey, and they still get to choose whether it's in our water or not. It doesn't come to a countable vote, and correct me if I'm incorrect. You guys get to choose. So it's up to us to influence your decisions one way or another. I can't personally question whether each one of you guys have water filtration systems in your homes, if you have partials or dental work done, if it matters to your teeth, and I'm not even going to refute that fluoride can possibly help your teeth in the right doses. You know, some people will argue that it is a genetic modification of sorts. It's changing the chemical composition of the human body. That is a big deal. Water is not a choice. It is a life-sustaining element. You must drink water to live. And I find it very offensive that anybody would suggest you don't have to drink water, especially from a medical professional. So we do have to drink it, and those of us stuck within city limits don't really have much of a choice as to where we drink it. I've had to spend a lot of money on bottled water for formula for my 2 children. And those are unnecessary costs for somebody who may be on WIC or is low income. A lot of my friends that are on assisted, food stamps and whatnot, it was a cost to them that they didn't realize when they had children they would be having to pay out of pocket. So when you look at how much something costs, how much is it going to cost our future generations to save your teeth? It's very simple to brush your teeth. Dental, people say that, try to scare you that some kid goes into an emergency room and they have a septic situation because of their teeth. Well, a lot of stuff happens that not necessarily could have been avoided by, having fluoride in the water. So, all right, thank you.
I'm going to call some more names before you start speaking. Sandra Tron, Vanessa Prince, Nathan Shields, Michael Sutton, Stephen Torella, and Ethan Strong.
Stephanie Dublin, 2345 East 3rd Avenue. I'm in the PUD district. First, I have an announcement. On Saturday, November 7th at 4 p.m. at the Public Library on Lauritsen Boulevard, there'll be a meeting and screening of the 20-minute video, Our Daily Dose, a movie about the history of water fluoridation in the U.S. It's free. Come, bring a friend. Tonight, I want the City Council to think about water fluoridation with the focus on economic development and job creation. We have a pristine area around Port Angeles that has locally owned companies and businesses and commercial companies who they can things, they bottle things, they package organic foods, our seafood and salmon. They deal with fluoridated water daily. Some have to put in expensive water filtration systems to take the fluoride out if they want to keep their organic status. There's been several large companies that have showed some interest in developing operations here because of the organic growers like Nash and Sunny Farms, etc. One of their considerations for producing people who do the wine and commercial packaging of the seafood, brewing beer, making jelly and jams and pickles and whatever, is the issue of using the fluoridated water in their processes. If you think organic, you probably do not want fluoridated water in the manufacture of your finished organic product. There's an extra expense to put in those systems that I mentioned. Restaurateurs who want to offer a menu of organic selections also have to consider the water source, even the water used in the preparation of coffee or tea or the water on your table. How about your soup? Organic grocery stores like Country Air have been spraying their organic fruits and vegetables with city-provided fluoridated water. And as this becomes known to the public, it can or will affect some customers' choices of where to shop. They may go to Carlsbad to Sunny Farms, which has unfluoridated water, and many will drive to this alternative location. So your decision to keep fluoride has an economic impact on us. Realize that this can be a deterrent in choosing Port Angeles to locate new businesses. No business wants to take on additional risk regarding harm when they can go down the road 15 miles and be in swim. Maybe we can make Nathan West's job a little easier when encouraging businesses to locate in this Clallam County, Port Angeles area, and the additional jobs that they would bring. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Scott Kennedy. I'm here to represent Olympic Medical Center tonight. I'm the Chief Medical Officer and the Chief Operation Officer for the hospital. Thank you for the opportunity to present, and I do appreciate your public forum. I do want to say that 5 weeks ago, the Olympic Medical Center Board of Commissioners unanimously passed resolution number 488, renewing its very strong endorsement of the fluoridation of the public water supplies within OMC's service areas. And what this really was sending was a strong signal of support to the city for the work you're doing currently optimizing the fluoride in our city water. But it's also meant to send strong support for the continuation of fluoridation of city water as well. In doing so with this endorsement, the OMC board joined our local medical and dental community in strong support for community water fluoridation. OMC also joins efforts with our local and national public health systems in efforts to lower the burden of oral disease that, simply stated, starts with infectious cavities. In its strategic plan, OMC has prioritized its work with the community to improve the health of the community over time, and this includes oral health. We partner with community clinic systems, other organizations with behavioral health, such as Peninsula Behavioral Health, and also support the volunteer clinics, one of which provides dental care here in the community. Just to give a few examples of these partnerships. Tooth decay is the most common chronic disease of children. It's 5 times more common than asthma. I think we're all familiar with asthma, but tooth decay is an infectious disease that's much more common. Simply stated, it starts with infection in the form of cavities produced by bacteria, yet it is a chronic disease that is almost 100% preventable. Progressed into adulthood, we see its effect with severe gum disease, detectable in almost 50% of the adult U.S. population. And now we're learning of the associations between this dental disease and progression to gum and periodontal disease, with the tendency towards diabetes, the difficulty controlling blood sugar in diabetics, problems with heart disease, problems with stroke, hospitalizations, and also with pregnancy, with preterm births, low birth weight, and preeclampsia. Tooth decay causes significant pain, absence from school, learning challenges, losses of work, and you've heard the rest, but it also causes unnecessary surgeries, hospitalizations, and sometimes even death. And you've heard an amazing story tonight already. The main thing I want you to know tonight is that the leadership at OMC supports you in the continuation of fluoridation. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sandra Tatro. I live at 603 Georgiana Street. I'm a concerned citizen, an engaged voter, a taxpayer, and a healthcare provider in this community for 12 years. I'm a general surgeon. I'm the chief of surgery at Olympic Medical Center. I echo Kelsey Redland's voice. The passion in this room is remarkable, and if we could harness this towards some of the other issues in this community, we would be #1 in outdoor magazines. What was it, a poll? I'm here to support community water fluoridation. I'm dedicated my professional life to improving the health of our community. I'd like to thank the Council and the League of Women Voters for having this forum. I think it's important. I think there are other important issues, but I'm glad to be here to support community water fluoridation. I originally planned to speak on the safety and efficacy of fluoride in our water, but that's been documented and presented and presented and presented tonight. So I will not go on. I think that's been presented to my satisfaction as a scientist, as a voter, and as a health provider. I'd like to address some concerns that were presented, however. You, the City Council members, I believe, are tasked mainly for making decisions for the majority of the population. You are voted by the population for making the best use of our resources. The public water supply is managed to provide for the public health, not for the individual. I am a firm believer in choice. I believe that we choose to elect our elected officials, but I also believe that we have to, as officials and as good stewards of our resources, need to try and put our money where it's going to make the most difference. The City Council is tasked with that good stewardship, and we have an efficacy overwhelmingly documented for putting fluoride in the water. The liberty, the point of being able to choose for ourselves, I believe certainly should be there, but I also believe that we are tasked with providing for the underrepresented and the underserved. Many public health issues are present in this community. The safety that we experience walking on the streets, gun violence, providing education to our children, drug abuse, the mental illness, environmental concerns, and poverty in our community. These are big issues. Fluoridation of the water is a huge issue. I, as a general surgeon, see on a daily basis 2 to 4 patients who are dealing with cancer, dealing with abscesses on their bodies from their teeth, from drug abuse that are caused by not having fluoride in their water, having poor oral health. Cancer patients can't get treatment for their cancer until their oral issues are solved. This is a big problem. You as City Council members are tasked with getting the most for your money and representing the majority. I believe you should choose to continue to fluoridate our water for the good of all of our community. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michael Sutton. My address is 3322 Upland Lane. I'm not highly credentialed. I've heard many highly credentialed people recommending fluoridated water, like even here tonight. The past City Council used the recommendations of the people as, such as these, to justify calling this decision an administrative decision, violating the trust and will of the people. I'm just asking you, please discontinue the water fluoridation and ignoring your elected responsibility to represent the residents of this city and the will of the people. Thank you.
Okay, before you start speaking, I'm going to call some more names. Ellen Fetchit, Mary Ellen Bartholomew, Ben Curran, Linda Springle, and Stephen Seibert.
Hello, my name is Nathan Shields, 182 Rife Road. The council members, I'm sure, know more about water fluoridation than I do because I only started researching this when I saw it's getting renewed or possibly not renewed. And in my research, I realized that most of the sources online are shameless disinformation spreading sites, and it takes some work to find the evidence that you're looking for, which is not anecdotes, but studies that have been peer-reviewed. We have decades of these, we have thousands of these, and they've been analyzed and distilled for your consumption. I found one site that's the ADA's Fluoride Facts that I was disappointed to find not all of us have read. With many of the anti-fluoride arguments, I could, just in reading it this evening, I could find a refutation for it. So I just urge you guys to approach this as a scientific decision. Thank you.
My name
is Steve Carella. I'm an all-official surgeon. I work here in Port Angeles at 902 East 8th Street. Sorry, I'm all talking. Just want to say that there is a tremendous need for prevention of dental disease. There's a proven benefit to water fluoridation. Fluoridation that has been based on sound science. It's safe and it's effective. And there are financial benefits to fluoridation.
Sir, could you bring your microphone a little closer? I don't, just bring it down towards you a little closer. I don't think the word is protected.
All right, sorry. You've heard all the pro and con arguments many times over. I just want to say from my personal perspective, I see a lot of dental disease, and I usually see it towards the back end when people can get really sick and have to go to the operating room and have pretty stressful surgeries. And I think less dental disease, less big surgery is a good thing, and I think it's a good thing that's here in the water in PA, and I hope it stays here. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Ellen Fetchett. I live at 204 Columbus Avenue in Port Angeles. I've been here since 1992. I am delighted with how many people have spoken, and that there are so many individuals in this space who hopefully will really begin to think about how we as a society and government in this small town and in our big world make decisions for all of us. I think that's what I've been most struck by tonight. I didn't really expect to be talking, but what I kept thinking about as I was listening to some examples people were talking about is, wait a minute, we're not really talking about the cost to us as individuals and taxpayers for not keeping something that is a prevention resource to us available. And I know, I mean, tonight we heard one speaker talk about the cost of it, the financial cost for this young boy in the who had the hospitalization and the resultant surgeries. But every time we take away a prevention resource such as fluoride or any other things that we may need to do, we're going to pay in our taxes, because people also have a right to get health care. And the way they get their health care is in the emergency room or in the dental office or anywhere else. So that has to be factored in. I am grateful that you are our elected leaders, and I support each and every one of you and believe you will do the right thing for all of us that will save us down the road and the individuals in the ways people have talked about tonight. Thank you.
Evening, I'm Ben Curran. I live at 3119 Mount Angeles Road. New family physician in town. Just came from a couple other communities where I trained, one of which had fluoride in the water and the other did not. Chicago has fluoride in the water, and for the first 7 years of my training, I never had to worry about do I need to give someone fluoride or do I not? Do they drink bottled water or not? And that was a tremendous benefit to the population. A lot of my research that I did as a medical student and as a resident had to do with patient adherence and compliance to treatments. Even patients who have breast cancer and are prescribed tamoxifen to reduce the risk of having breast cancer recurrence, only about 70% of them will actually end up taking the medicine, even though there's good evidence that it will reduce their likelihood that they will get breast cancer again. So, and that continues to apply to any chronic medication that one needs to take. So the idea that if we just take it out of the water and leave it up to the individual and let everyone have their own choice, that's a flawed idea. People will not follow through and do what they're asked to do, even if it's in their own best interest, even if it's something like breast cancer, which obviously has a big impact in people's lives. So I am for everyone's right to choose, but unfortunately, our children really don't have any choice in the matter. And so I urge the council to focus on good, peer-reviewed studies, not on anecdotal evidence. Fluoride is not a silver bullet. It obviously does not cure dental disease in Port Angeles, but if you take it out of the water, it will, the rates will go back up. One last thought, although you may get fluorosis from putting fluoride in the water, I've yet to see any patients coming in with depression from the fluorosis on their teeth. I've seen many patients who have depression because of the poor teeth that they have and from the dental caries that they've had to pull in. So anyway, good luck with your decision.
My name is Linda Springott, and I live at 3155 City Water Fluoridation in Port Angeles. Throughout this whole evening, I've been listening to everybody speak, and although I am opposed to fluoride in the water, I'm not opposed to giving children or the people that need the fluoride. I grew up not having fluoride, and out of the 4 children in my household, 2 of us had awful teeth and 2 of us had wonderful teeth. To me, that's biochemical individuality. What one person needs, another person may not. Fluoride is not an essential nutrient, and I think that there need to be options. When my children were going to school, the schools administrated fluoride drops. We opted out of that, and my children had pretty darn good teeth until they became adults and made choices on their own. I don't know what to tell you to do. I know you have a hard decision, but I really feel that people need to have the option, and I hope that you consider that in your vote for fluoride or against it. But like I say, I am opposed to it. Thank you.
Okay, we're getting close to our ending time. We have about 12 minutes left. So I'm going to call 2 more names before you speak, sir. Joseph Jackson and Chantal Carey Rounds, or something like that. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Stephen Seibert. I live at 123 East First Street here in downtown Port Angeles. I have a question for all the healthcare providers and everybody that's in favor of continuing the fluoride. Who would volunteer to be the one to put the fluoride in our water at the water plant? Who would volunteer to do that? You would? Yeah. So that's what, 1, 2, 3? What's wrong with the rest of you that are going daily? What's that?
To be certified and trained.
Okay.
You also have to wear rubber gloves and a
Yeah, I don't think the public works director is here tonight, but I think we have some volunteers. You can save your city employees that have to put on a hazmat suit to put that in our water.
I have to comment.
Sir, I'm sorry, we can't do that. Go ahead, sir.
He said you volunteered, and I said I would.
Sir.
He said you have to put on rubber gloves. I said, Dennis, I had to put on rubber gloves to stick my fingers in his mouth.
Fine. Go ahead, sir.
So I think the city public works employee that dumps the fluoride in our water has to wear a hazmat suit. So that's my point. Maybe the city can save our workers and have some volunteers to do that. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
My name is Joseph Jackson. I live at 301 Vashon Street, apartment number 1. I spent about 14 years as a chemical officer in the United States Army Reserve. Because of that, I was led to study chemistry to a significant degree, and I learned a large number of very unpleasant things about what can be done with chemicals to people. I also, in the course of that 20 years, traveled all the way around the world, and I've seen parts of the world that most people never have. I want to first show you a map of the world, most of the world, which indicates areas which are known to have toxic levels of fluorine in the groundwater. Fluorine is not a normal, natural, nutritional element in the human body. It has no place in the human body. Unlike chlorine, unlike sodium, which are both violently reactive chemicals, a powerful base and a powerful acid, fluorine simply has no normal place in the human body. It's not a natural constituent of the human body. It is only an acid and a poison. That is all it is. Now, the fact that it forms a salt with various earth metals and can get into your body does not make it less toxic. It has no nutritional value. It has no potential nutritional value. It cannot have. And the very first thing that toxic chemicals do to the human body is cause brain damage. Even in some subclinical, very minute levels. This is one of the basic facts that I learned about chemistry and chemical weapons. One of the salts, one of the fluoride salts, is aluminum fluoride. It naturally tends to cause your body to pull more aluminum or keep more aluminum in your body if you have fluorine in your drinking water. That aluminum then collects in your brain and results in your old age in Alzheimer's disease. When I traveled to India, I saw people with legs like this. These people, as children, were dependent only and entirely on well water, which has toxic levels of fluoride salts in it. This is what it did to their legs before they could even grow up. It is not beneficial in any way. Now, I've heard that the fluorine that we have here. Oh, all right.
I'm going to call one more name. Is Paul Lacherette here? Paul Lacherette? Or Elisa Lacherette? All right, Diana Estberg? Or John Ioffe or Ioffe? All these people have all left? All right. Tom Herbert? Oh, that's right, all right. Well, in that case, is Dr. Eloise Galen here? All right, would you like the microphone brought to you?
Yes. Sorry, I was on the list of people in Port Angeles to speak.
And, okay. In the Water District, you mean?
Yes.
All right, go ahead, sir. And then we'll get to Dr. Taylor.
Hi, I'm Chris Frank. I'm a family physician in town. I'm also the Clallam County Health Officer. I live at 320 West Main Street. I have 2 young children in town, a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old. I know we've rehashed lots and lots of things tonight, but I've only been the health officer for a couple of months. And when I got that job, I was getting tons and tons of questions about this. And so this is not something that people learn a lot about in medical school. Honestly, it's because it feels, I think, to most medical professionals like it's an issue that was decided 50, 60 years ago. And so I really went into literature to look at this. Before I was a doctor, I was a molecular biologist. I have a PhD in molecular biology. And I really read a lot about it because I thought maybe I was missing something. But after looking at a lot of the data, it's really not there. This is a safe and effective intervention that is well studied in public health. And I work with lots of doctors, lots of dentists, and really you usually can't get them to agree on anything. And this is something where 100% of the dentists in the community and 100% of the doctors who are practicing in Port Angeles agree with. That is really unheard of for almost any public health intervention. I did want to bring up just one issue that hasn't been brought up tonight. That there's a long history of improving health in the United States throughout the world through lots of food and water fortification. We use salt supplemented with iodine to decrease the rate of mental retardation. We have skim milk that we've supplemented with vitamin D, and because of that, almost no one in this room has probably seen someone with rickets. Whereas that was something where 70–80% of children had rickets before those interventions. Same with flour and bread products that we supplement with folic acid, niacin to decrease the rate of spina bifida. In the same way, probably many people here don't know many patients with spina bifida. It's decreased the rate of that by 75%. In addition to the strong scientific arguments, there's really good economic arguments for this. We know that in towns that have optimized fluoride, for about every dollar that we spend on that, we save about $38 in dental care costs. And in a town like this, where we have lots of patients who are underserved, optimizing fluoride levels really reduces the cost of Medicaid payments. So I think stopping fluoride would be a major harm to people living in Port Angeles and would be a very public step in the wrong direction. And I encourage you to continue to follow the national, state, and local guidelines, in addition to the recommendations of all of the dentists and physicians in the community to continue optimizing fluoride in Port Angeles.
All right, Dr. Clallam?
Good evening, Eloise. Protect the futures. I've heard a lot of things here tonight that I have a big question on. The first is the absolute assumption that the fluoride in the water is actually lessening dental cavities. We have now one first-class study, a double-blind test, which we insist on having for use of a medication before the FDA will approve it. Not one double-blind test in 70 years has shown that that works. The second thing is these testimonies that, well, since Port Angeles has had fluoridation, the kids are better. Well, what happens in your hospital emergency room? I got those statistics and followed them for a number of years, and what happened is the dental admissions for dental to the emergency room have gone up since fluoridation was begun, not down. That's not up because your emergency room got busier either. The ratio of dental people to other emergency room visits was higher than other illnesses that were brought in. The third thing is I have now been able to crack some of the data in smile surveys. They have been hidden away, encrypted, kept on disk, and not available to the public for a long time. When we finally got a hold of it, we got some epidemiologists and mathematicians, and we are finding that we can get that data, and we are finding that that data shows that the people in the fluoridated area, mainly Forks, are having less good dental health than in unfluoridated areas, children of the same age. Now, let me tell you what I started in on. I got off on this track because of all this other stuff I've heard. Our governmental health protection system is not working as it should. The rules for assuring quality of fluoride require a listing of all of the ingredients. We have sworn testimony of an official of a certifying organization who admitted that this data is not being collected. No one really knows what is added to our drinking water aside from fluoride, lead, or arsenic. The Port Angeles Suppliers Material Safety Data Sheets disclose this lack of toxicity information, and since nobody knows what's in the mix, claims of safety are obviously untrustworthy. As to political influence, oh boy, on the SMILE surveys, you may recall, City Council, a contract I gave you.
I'm sorry, Dr. Kane, but your time is up.
Okay, we're another day.
I have to ask the permission. I have to ask permission of the mayor and the council to have one more speaker who had signed up on the within that I failed to call. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Laura O'Neill, Mount Angeles, Port Angeles, Washington. And with all due respect, and I mean that with all my heart, with all due respect to Dr. Palin, the SMILE survey is a survey. It is not the science necessarily. And I just want to make that very clear. There is very, very clear science that fluoride is safe and it's very, very effective. And what I have before me real quickly is a list. It's a national and international organizations that and I want to emphasize international as well. We've heard a lot about that tonight. That recognize the public health benefits of community water fluoridation for preventing dental decay. The Academy of Dentistry International, the Academy of General Dentistry, the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, Academy for Sports Dentistry, the Alzheimer's Association, American Academy of Family Physicians, American Academy of Nurse Practitioners, American Academy of Oral and Maxillofacial Pathology, I don't know if I said that correctly, American Academy of Pediatrics, American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry, some of these words I cannot pronounce, American Association of Dental Research, American Association for Health Education, American Association for the Advancement of Science, which we are losing drastically in this country. Science, the Advanced Facial Surgeons, American Association of Public Health Dentistry, American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations, American Dental Association, American Osteopathic Association, American School Health Association, American Society for Clinical Nutrition, American Society for Nutritional Sciences, American Water Works Association, Association of American Medical Colleges, Association of Clinicians for the Underserved. I gotta say that one again. Association of Clinicians for the Underserved. Association of State and Territorial Dental Directors. Canadian Medical Association. Canadian Nurses Association. Canadian Pediatric Society. Canadian Public Health Association. Child Welfare League of America. I'm sorry, I was reading instead. Thank you.
We are now at our little past our 9 o'clock hour for stopping, and I want to thank all of you very much for attending and listening. If I could finish my little spiel here. I want to thank you for coming and listening to the input from all of our speakers, and thank you and good evening, and this is the time to
On behalf of the council, I want to thank everybody for coming this evening, especially the respect you showed each other. I know that this is a very emotional topic, and there's some well-informed people here. So again, thank you all for your time this evening and for the information provided. The council, we are adjourned.